There's Jack.
Perfect.
You got a full board. Okay, we got them. All right, welcome. This time, I'd like to call back to order the Pasco County Board of County Commissioner meeting for August 21st, 2024. Please silence all electronic devices. And the first item we're going to take is we're going to ask for Mr. Ray Gad to step to the podium.
And any
It's
family
not a
member?
P item, it's an
A
ask
little
that you come
surprise.
forward.
If you want your family up there,
Your family can come with you.
you can come with you.
Surprise.
Surprise.
Surprise, yeah, I love it. I love it. Love surprises.
I should have hid them in my office so that you didn't see
Is there a
them.
chocolate cake somewhere? I mean,
Didn't think of that.
I haven't
sorry.
seen any chocolate cake. Oh, and by the way, since a lot of you are here joining us now after lunch, we have this mood lighting today. We were talking about putting a spinning ball up here that actually adds to that, but yeah, it's going good, and I think the lighting's working perfect. So with that, I would ask the clerk to please read the resolution.
Resolution number 24-171, a resolution by the Board of County Commissioners of Pasco County, Florida, commending Ray Gad for over 40 years of service to the Pasco County School Board and congratulating him on his retirement. Whereas Ray Gad was appointed as Deputy Superintendent of Pasco County Schools in 2012 and oversees administration, operations, leading and learning, student support services, and finance. And whereas Ray Gad has served on the boards of the Pasco Pediatric Foundation, Advisory Council, Wachovia Banks of Pasco, University of South Florida Collaborative for Children, Families, and Communities, Pasco Hernando Catholic Charities, National Conference of Christians and Jews, Florida Coalition for Children, Youth and Family Services, Gulfside Hospice, The Angelus, Florida ABLE, Inc., the Commission on Mental Health and Substance Abuse, and Advent Connerton. And whereas Ray Gad is the past chairman for the Central Florida Behavioral Health Network, a former trustee at Pasco Hernando State College, and has served on the Pasco County Planning Commission and Development Review Committee. And whereas Ray Gad was instrumental in the original campaign to pass the Penny for Pasco to help fund Pasco County schools in 2004. And whereas Ray Gad has received the Lawrence D. Wasser Humanitarian Award of the Jewish National Fund in Tampa, Florida Coalition for Children's Chairman's Award, Florida Association of School Psychologists Presidential Award, Pasco County District Supervisor of the Year Award, and was recognized by the Parents for Quality Schools for leadership. And whereas Ray Gad has received his bachelor's degree in social and behavioral sciences and his master's degree in behavioral science from the University of South Florida. He is a licensed psychologist and is certified by the National Association of School Psychologists. And whereas Ray Gad has been heavily involved in numerous projects such as Penny for Pasco, impact fees, land acquisition, Kirkland Ranch Academy of Innovation, Angeline Academy of Innovation, Starkey Ranch K-8, Cypress Creek Campus, PHSC IPAC, Land O'Lakes Heritage Park Bandstand, and the Pasco Education Foundation. And whereas Ray will be spending his retirement from the Pasco County School Board with his wife, Kathy Peckett, and his daughter, Casey Armstrong, and his son-in-law, T.C. Armstrong, and his two grandchildren, Chloe and Ty. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Board of County Commissioners of Pasco County, Florida, that said board hereby commends Ray Gad for his over 40 years of service to the Pasco County School Board and congratulates him on his retirement. Done and resolved in regular session with the quorum present and voting this 21st day of August, 2024.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed 5-0. Welcome.
Well, thank you very much. It was quite a surprise. I knew something was up when I was told my daughter would be chauffeuring me to the meeting today. So, I greatly appreciate it. It's been a privilege and honor to serve Pasco County. And it's been a real privilege to work with the county commission through the years. We've had a great relationship, the school board and the county commission. And I think that's because of the cast of characters trying to work together and make government better every day. Thank you for this recognition. I appreciate it very much.
Yeah. Don't leave. Hey,
Wait,
you gotta
wait,
come
Ray.
back. Can't leave.
I'm
Come
up
back.
now.
We're not done with you. You may be done with us,
Now
but we're not
comes the
done with you.
abuse, huh?
Yeah. No, we've certainly, I'm in my 8th year, and you've always been a person to reach out to and talk to about the school system and what's going on just in normal local things we have going on. But I certainly appreciate you being there when I'd call. So our hearts go out with you when you retire, because it's going to be hard to, fill your shoes. 'Cause you've been so important to the board and to the government in Pasco County.
Appreciate it. Thank
So,
you.
Ms. Starkey?
Ray, I'm really happy to sponsor this and surprise you with this. And, the very first time I met you was actually in this room when you were working on the penny for Pasco. And I don't know if you remember that, but I remember that. And I got to get to know you better when I was on the school board. And I called Ray my handler. Because they assigned
You get an award for that?
they assigned one of their top administrators to each school board member at the time. I don't know if they do that now. And Ray got the challenge of me. So we really had fun working together. And when I was on the school board and later here and in other endeavors that we've worked on together. And it's just been such a privilege and an honor to work with you and to call you my good friend. And I'm so glad. There are other people here to honor you today, and we're going to have everyone come up for a photo. But this is the least we could do for all your service to the community.
Thank you.
Not just our county, the Tampa Bay region.
Commissioner Wakeman?
Such a leader.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Gad, Commissioner Starkey seemingly on our way to 4 more years, and we might have a job opening, part-time, at least. No, in all seriousness, I don't know how many folks you've probably mentored along the way, but your mark on Pasco County is made for my generation and probably beyond and my kids. So thank you for your dedication, your service, your countless hours of work and collaboration and being a mentor and being there for anybody in the public space. So congratulations on your well-earned retirement, and congratulations to your family as well.
All right, thank you.
Commissioner Yeager?
Congratulations. I worked for the school board for 10 years, so I know.
Congratulations to you, too.
Thank you. So I know all the amazing things you've done and all the people you have mentored, and thank you, and I hope you enjoy your retirement.
Thank you.
Mr. Mariano?
Thank you. Ray, you've been amazing all through your years. You've always been on top of the situations. Whenever you came to us with something you wanted the commission to work with you on, you always explained it eloquently and professionally, and all great, lots of great ideas. So thank you for your service, and I wish you well in your retirement.
Thank you, Jack.
Mr. Kabala?
Guess I'll pile on to the accolades, Ray. We've worked together in different capacities since I've been here at the county for 10 years, and it's always been, just a little bit, it's always been a pleasure, though, working with you and the team on everything, and it truly is arm in arm and working together towards common goals, and so I'm just thankful for that, and you have everything to do with that, so appreciate your leadership on those fronts.
Okay.
So we have a.
Wait a minute.
Oh.
Clerk?
Oh, absolutely.
As Mike said, and he has worked with you in many capacities, as have I, in my various positions I've held with Pasco County over the years, and under 3 different clerks, I believe. And so not only I want to, on behalf of Nikki, I want to extend to you, but Again, it's just been a pleasure working together with you for the betterment of Pasco County and the schools, and thank you.
Thank you, Harold.
So I feel really bad we didn't get chocolate cake. We can work on that privately. But we have a framed copy for you, and I know we want to take some photos. So let's do one with the board and you and your family first, and then everyone else who's here, come on up and we'll take some bigger photos, because there are other people here to honor you. If that works, Mr. Chair. That works? We're going to come back here.
Gathered some extra people.
I know you probably have so many things hanging on your wall already, but here's a new one for you. Hold that. Okay. Mike, you want to come? Do the board, I'll come up. Okay. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Thank you. All right, so school board members and some of the others, Barbara, I know you're here, Sean, I think Paul Manuel is coming, Clark, anyone else who wants to come up here that's worked with Ray professionally? Alan's here. We're gonna take another one. Let's take a step, maybe take a step. Oh, yeah. David, I wonder if you want to.
Okay,
You might need to
I need
step
to
back.
squeeze in just a little bit on this side. Oh, yeah. I've got Clark here. I've got David, go in a little bit more, or maybe on this side. Attorney All right, 1, 2, 3. Take another. 1, 2, 3. Awesome.
Awesome. All right.
Congratulations, Ray.
Keep it as a surprise.
Don't see that much anymore.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, oh, we're good. Now I get to apologize again to you. I apologize that we put that in front of your item. So, so now we get to call you back up on, we're going to go for item P58.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Nectarios Pitos, Planning, Development, Economic Growth. Item P58 is PEG 240396. It is an ordinance by the Pasco County Board of County Commissioners, amending the Pasco County Land Development Code, providing for amendments to Section 1302.3 school impact fees to make such section consistent with the 2024 school impact fee study and to adopt such study, to increase the amount of school impact fees, providing for additional amendments as necessary to ensure internal consistency, providing for applicability, repeal or severability, inclusion into the Land Development Code modification, and an effective date. This comes to you with a recommendation of adoption of the proposed ordinance by roll call vote, and Mr. Ray Gad is here to speak to the item.
And we have proof of publication of the hearing of this matter in the Tampa Bay Times, July 10th and July 28th, 2024.
Okay. All right.
Ray Gad, Deputy Superintendent of Schools, 6504 Wisteria Loop, Land O'Lakes, Florida, 34638. Before I jump into impact fees, if I could, I'd like to go back to the previous moment and make a quick comment. One of the people that's on your staff that has always been, he doesn't know it, but a mentor to me and an incredibly helpful person, sharp on the details and patient with me, especially when I was younger in my career, was David Goldstein. And I want to thank him for being a partner with us on a lot of projects. Relative to the impact fees, I'd like to make a couple comments. I know this is the second reading. I also know that Tom Weibert was here this morning to talk about impact fees relative to kind of the big picture. The district school board is not ignorant about the total amount of impact fees, not just our impact fees, your impact fees. We have one impact fee, and that's an impact fee to build houses. And as David will tell you, the district school board never comes back in for a cost of living index because we're trying to keep our fees down. And every time that we do come back in for an impact fee, I always call David, and he'll tell you that. And I say, David, do y'all have any impact fees coming up in the county? Because I don't want to get in your way, because I know they're important to you. And in fact, probably 6 months ago, maybe 7 months ago, I called Mr. Carvalho, and I told him the same thing. I said, what do you guys got going on? Because we don't want to get in your way. We know that those are important, that they're kind of the lifeblood for your system. So we have tried to keep our impact fees down by not doing cost of living indexes, which might have been a mistake because then the state came along and put into law that you can only raise impact fees every 4 years. So we kind of got hammered in that legislation. But we're very, very sensitive to the fact that young people want to buy homes. And so we try to keep our impacts as low as we can. But we also know that young people want good schools for their kids. And so that in buying that home, they're looking for good schools and schools that aren't crowded and schools that have professional teachers. The public in Pasco County has recognized that as well. They came out and supported the latest penny. For 15 years, they've done this 3 times now, twice for 10, one for 15. They've also supported us in our efforts to raise teacher salaries. So we feel like the public in general is happy with their public school system and that they want to see us continue to build good schools and deal with overcrowding. We didn't put on the agenda the impact fee study because we gave it to you last time. But if anybody needs it, we have extra copies here that we can distribute. That said, I think all of you recognize we have school board members here, Cynthia Armstrong, Megan Harding, an ex-one who I guess just can't stay away, Alan Altman.
I thought he
He
retired.
was here for your resolution.
And of course, my team, which you all know, Betsy Kuhn, Chris Williams. And so as a team, we're willing to answer any additional questions you might have for us. Thank you very much.
Okay, any questions from the board?
Nope, just that you missed Al Hernandez over there.
Oh, Al Hernandez. He wasn't here at the last one, so he came to this one.
I would just say that it's a pleasure when a county commission and a school district gets along so well, and it benefits our citizens greatly. And I think it shows in the quality of life that we're offering here in Pasco County and the quality of our schools. And you know, we're not insensitive to the cost that everything we do up here has a ripple effect, but we have these responsibilities. And if you were to go to how Florida counties compare and look to see where we are in the rankings of what it costs for you to live here in Pasco County, you would see we are just doing tremendously against our peers. So we're still a very affordable, well-run system here, and I'm really proud of all the work we do together. And this is important, and I'll be supporting it.
Mr. Waitman?
Thank you, Chair. For overall big picture discussion, kind of a bit of a difference of opinion on affordability in Pasco County today. Our impact fee today is $30,440. That's the highest, on the highest zone, A, B, and C. And when we add this over the next 4 years, it'll compound over $34,000, and the other impact fees that this board is looking at coming down the line. We're very quickly going to be approaching probably the $40,000 mark, which is more money than some folks make a year. And I'm concerned with our fee structure that it's going to erode away the opportunity of home ownership for folks. And as much as it's important to balance what our schools need and the needs of everyone else, I just want to put into perspective that our impact fees are starting to be pretty heavy and going up and going up and going up. And spoke with Mr. Carvalho about this, about taking a look at the zones and just different ways of restructuring. And I think we need to have a workshop or whatever the process is sooner than later as prices keep going up, whether people can afford a home or split up some property and have another family homestead. We think a lot of all the new folks coming in, but there's a lot of folks in Pasco County who are here and looking to upgrade what they're currently doing. And so, as much as I appreciate the study of the school system, and the work that they do, instead of phasing in $4,000 over a period of time, I've kind of landed on a $2,000 immediate impact to try to hold something down. I wish for our staff and the timing of this, schools to me are a bit more important than our parks. And we just approved a $3,500 impact fee for our parks. I'd have much rather seen the school impact fee come forward and weighed that heavier than parks. And so as we go through this budget cycle, and we talk about the potential, the parks tax and what we have to restructure that and maybe find a way to back down that parks impact fee and offset that some way and give more to the schools. We're just going to, in short order, the impact fees are going to get pretty darn heavy. And I'm just concerned about that, so.
Well, to talk on some of that, the impact fees that are being placed is because more and more people are moving into Florida, moving into Pasco County, and with that, there's a demand on schools to get bigger and better, and there's been issues of start of the school this year that I've heard from different schools that it's gotten a little bit better, but the older schools haven't been engineered to handle a lot of the stacking of cars. A lot of people are being delivered in cars now where they weren't before, and they're not riding buses like they used to. But the older schools have been all over the county have been affected by more and more car traffic. And the new schools, and I talked to Ray about this last week, the new schools are being engineered to handle the stacking of cars, for they have that delivery and that pickup.
And Mr. Goldstein's primarily responsible for making sure we do that.
Yep. Yeah, he's a numbers man for sure, without a doubt. I thought he was a forensic attorney at one time, but he told me no, he just has to be able to substantiate everything that he says in numbers to be able to prove it and go forward with it. So, and I appreciate that. He knows the numbers very well. And but in fact, the impact fees are affecting more and more people coming to Florida. It's calling more and more demand, not only on schools, but also our parks. So we see that across the county. And the new people coming in, they're bringing more and more kids, and we've got to be able to handle it, because I can tell you what, they're not coming in here if they don't have the activities in the schools for their children to go to, and good schools, they wouldn't be coming here. So we've had a good system here in Pasco County with schools and teach the education of these kids, and that's part of why people are coming here. So these impact fees are affecting mainly those people that buy a new home or do these things. Those prices are going to be in there, but that's just part of what you got to do, and it's going to happen in the future. If you decide to change from one house to go to a larger home and you build it, you're going to have to pay that impact because you're actually putting a new homestead in a new place. So we all have to pay our part as we go. So anyone else want to say?
Yeah, no,
Ms. Yeager?
I agree with Commissioner Waitman with, schools are top priority. We've got to make sure we get our money to schools, and I agree, maybe back off the parks a little bit, because we just can't be hammered by all these fees at once, because we also have the MSTU for paving, and it's all going to add up, so. But I am all for you guys getting the money. So.
Part of our system in our rec and other issue in recreation, their demand is so heavy on our sports complexes and all that we had to have that impact fee to be able to provide for children in the future. And let me tell you something, when you tell them there's no room for them to play on the field, you got a real issue with your residents when you tell them that. So you got to provide for that. It's a shame it has to be that way, but to do the right thing in the county, you have to have money to do that. There's no other way to get that money, but those people coming in and bringing more students and more people playing sports and things of this nature, we've got to be able to provide that, or I can tell you, they expect that, so.
My daughter's a soccer mom. She can tell you all about it.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
And
We've had a
maybe-
lot of discussions about soccer and other sports.
Maybe would you guys be willing to open like your outdoor basketball courts and stuff like
There you
that in the
go.
afternoon for the, for the
We have
students?
always said, and this was one of the things that I did when I was Ms. Starkey's handler, that we worked hard on joint use projects. And of course, the Starkey K through 8 is a joint use project. Now, they're tough. We're working out kinks, because there are kinks about when people use it and stuff. But when you innovate, there are always issues that pop up that you didn't see coming. David Goldstein and I wrote the master plan, mostly David, for the Starkey K through 8, and we tried to think of everything we could. And I don't know how many things have come up since then, David, that we
We have a
didn't think
meeting
about.
coming up.
That's right.
So we're always open to talking to the county. And right now, I think we have 3 or 4 schools that the county is using: Bayonet Point, Longleaf, Anclote. I think there's one more. Chris, do you know? Schrader, where we're sharing our playgrounds and ball fields, and we're certainly open to doing more of that.
I thought is Starkey one of those two? I mean,
Well, we have a
we do a
co-location
lot of
agreement.
things there with
Well, with
Starkey.
Starkey, yes.
With the library and all.
Yeah,
that.
it was kind of built that way.
Yeah, that's right. So that's been good, and it's been a good partnership for the county with the school board, very much so. All right.
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Chairman?
Oh, I'm sorry,
There's
go
5
ahead,
of us
Jack.
here.
Go ahead, Jack.
Thank you. The people that are moving in here are coming in for a quality of life. The people are expecting to keep things up to pace. The people already living here don't want to be paying the bill for those people that are coming in.
Right.
I've been a proponent of the impact fees. There was one time when the economy dropped, it was like trying to create jobs where I looked at lower them, but when it got down to it, it was really basically, you've got to keep the schools going. You've got to keep them where they can put their infrastructure in place, because that is the bottom line. And when so the schools are going, and I'm happy to know that we've made so many improvements on co-location. Commissioner Starkey, you and I talked about that for 20 years now. And it's getting better and better. We got to keep it going that way as well. And Commissioner Wilkie, you bring up a good point. These new schools, they've also got to be able to take their traffic better, because right now with the extra travelers that are going into the schools, it's backing up traffic on major roadways all over the place.
Right.
So that's got to be addressed as well. But, when the Tampa Bay Builders Association steps up to say they can support a phasing in of it, that's a good thing. If you want to take a look at the parks and maybe bring it back to phase it in a little bit too, we could relook at that, but we've got to keep the fees going on both ends. Kids need a place to play. When you've got the kids that are actively going out there in playing in sports, the tired they are when they get home, the better they sleep, the better they do in school, the better they perform across the board, and that's been proven everywhere. So quality of life is important. Impact fees are going to make development pay for itself, and that's where it should fall, not the citizens that live in here right now.
Okay. Ms. Starkey, you had something else?
Well, I just wanted to agree with you on how important it is, and Lisa, you haven't got those phone calls yet, but they're coming, for the parents whose kids want to play in sports and they can't because there's no fields. And we've gotten that. There's no Little League fields, there's no football fields, and now we have other sports coming. We've got lacrosse, cricket's coming, so.
Girls flag football, it's
Yes,
coming.
Olympic sport.
You name it, it's coming.
We are decades behind in building our new parks, sadly. But that's what happened when we had the crash in the early 2000s. Just so, per capita total property tax levies for Pasco County. Now, this is 22-23. The statewide average is 2,000. Pasco County is at 1,165. We're the 11th largest county, I would say maybe soon to be 10th largest county, and we are 42nd. So we are way down the list on what we do. On the school district levies, again, we are the 11th largest county in the state. Statewide average is 784. Pasco County is at $434. That's 45th in the state. And the last one that I think always can be very interesting is, let's see, I just took a picture of it, so let me go there. And that is I hid the title, but it's the amount of taxes we charge per, I think it's $1,000 of income. The state average is $33, and Pasco County is 45th at $23.44. So we're still fiscally conservative here, and I get what you're saying. It's because I have kids who want to buy a home. It's harder and harder to buy a home, but if you're living here and you're in a home, you're getting pretty good bang for your buck. Though I know things are getting harder and harder. Inflation's killing everybody, but we just have to have schools, and I would make the motion to approve the school board impact fee.
Public hearing.
It's a public
Oh,
hearing.
public hearing, okay.
All right. It is a public hearing. I'd like to ask if there's anyone here that wishes to speak to this item.
We have no one signed
No
up
one
and
signed up.
advanced.
Anyone in the audience? Anybody on WebEx?
No, sir.
Okay. Having no one, then entertain that motion.
I do want to say, we did get a letter from the Tampa Bay Builders Association in support of the school board's initiative, and they appreciate that they have phased this in over 4 years to help, and so with that, I make the motion to approve.
Okay, have a motion.
And I'm going to second the motion. Let's just a little discussion.
Okay, I got a
And
second.
I just want to
With
say-
discussion.
Just as you take a look in the room, there's nobody here opposing this because the people going to pay it aren't here. And I will tell you, in all my years,
Haven't moved here yet.
I haven't moved here yet. But in all my years going around to different commissioners, they wonder how we get our things paid for. And they look at our fees, how's that going, how's it going? And again, with Tampa Bay Builders Association saying they're okay with this, they're gradual with the phase-in, it tells you that they know we got to pay for it. And if there's one lady years ago told me she had just moved from Hillsborough up to Pasco, and the reason she moved, she knew that we had impact fees in place, and we have schools well-built for our kids as they were growing up.
Right. Okay, I got a motion and a second. Is this roll call?
Yes, sir.
This is a roll call vote.
District 2, Commissioner Wegman.
A respectful nay.
District 3, Commissioner Starkey.
Aye.
District 4, Commissioner Yeager.
Aye.
District 5, Commissioner Mariano.
Aye.
District 1, Chairman Oakley.
Aye. Motion passed 4-1. Okay, and move on to P59.
Mr. Chairman, we have publication of this matter in the April 17th, 2024 edition of the Tampa Bay Times for its original hearing on June 18th and was continued to today.
Okay,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Item P59 is DRD 240036. It is an ordinance intending to create the Invasive Species Management Program, which is being requested to be withdrawn, to be followed up by a subsequent ordinance and an upcoming Board of County Commissioners meeting date.
okay, so you were withdrawing? Do we need a motion to withdraw it?
Nope,
Nope.
it's withdrawn.
It's withdrawn, okay. Move on to P60.
P60 was advertised in the December 2023 edition of the Tampa Bay Times for the January 9th BCC meeting, where it was continued to February 6th, 2024 BCC meeting, where it was continued to March 12th, 2024, where it was continued to the March 26th meeting, where it was continued to the April 23rd, 2024 meeting, where the transmittal was approved. The adoption hearing was continued from June 18th of this year to today.
Item P60 is PEG 240024. This is a comprehensive plan amendment changing from Res 3 and AG to PD on 100 acres on the southeast corner of the intersection of US 41 and Leland Avenue, 1 mile north of State Route 52. This is being recommended for a continuance to the September 3rd, 2024 BCC hearing in Dade City at 1:30 p.m.
Okay, have a motion?
Move to continue?
Second.
Okay, move to continue to September 3rd, and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, move on to P61.
Proof of publication in Tampa Bay Times on July 10th, 2024 for today's meeting.
Item P61 is PEG 240379. This is an ordinance considering tree preservation and replacement. This is being recommended for a continuance to the October 8, 2024 Board of County Commissioners meeting at 1:30 PM in Dade City.
Move to continue?
Second.
Okay, I got a motion and a second to continue to October 8th in Dade City. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passed 5-0. Move on to P62.
P62 was advertised in Tampa Bay Times June 5th and July 28th, 2024, and we have affidavit of certified mailings and site postings.
Item P62 is PEG 240218. This is an ordinance amending the Pasco County Comprehensive Plan, providing for a small-scale comprehensive plan amendment to the future land use map, map 2-15 and sheet 22, from ROR, retail office residential, and Res 3, residential 3 dwelling units per gross acre, to COM commercial on approximately 2.06 acres of real property located at the corner of State Road 54 and Ernest Drive, and providing for additional text amendments as necessary for internal consistency, providing for repealer servability and an effective date. This comes to you with a recommendation to approve the proposed comprehensive plan amendment and adopt the ordinance by roll call vote, and there's a presentation if desired.
Okay, this is a public hearing. Is anyone signed up to speak to this item?
We have no one signed up in advance?
Nobody on WebEx?
None.
None on WebEx. Does anyone in the audience wish to speak to this item?
Seeing no one, move approval.
Okay. I got a motion to approve
Second.
and a second. All those in favor, a roll call vote?
I don't believe, is roll call required on this?
Yes.
It's an ordinance.
It's
Oh, ordinance, I'm
yeah.
sorry, I was on the wrong one. District 2, Commissioner Wakeman.
Aye.
District 3, Commissioner Starkey.
Aye.
District 4, Commissioner Yeager.
Aye.
District 5, Commissioner Mariano.
Aye.
District 1, Chairman Oakley.
Aye. Motion passed 5-0. Move on to P63.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, we have proof of publication of the hearing of this item in the Tampa Bay Times, June 5th and July 28th, 2024.
Item P63 is PEG 240320. This is an ordinance by the Pasco County Board of County Commissioners amending the Pasco County Land Development Code, amending Section 402.2 zoning amendment, MPUD master plan unit development, submittal requirements, Section 403.1 preliminary development plans, residential submittal requirements, Section 403.2 preliminary development plans, non-residential / mixed use submittal requirements, Section 403.3 preliminary site plans, submittal requirements, Section 403.7 mass grading submittal requirements, Section 404.3 mining permits application requirements, Section 404.4 construction and demolition debris disposal facilities operating permits application requirements, Section 404.6 yard trash processing facilities application requirements, Section 809.2 cultural resources generally specific requirements, Section 809.4 standards for surveys and analysis, Section 809.8 historic cemeteries specific requirements, and other sections as necessary for internal consistency, providing for applicability repealer, providing for severability inclusion into the land development code and effective date. This comes to you with a recommendation to adopt the proposed ordinance by roll call vote.
Okay. This is public hearing. Is anyone here to speak to this item?
We have no one signed up in advance nor online.
Okay. Is anyone in the audience that didn't sign up or would like to speak? Seeing no one, approval of the board.
Move approval.
Second.
I got a motion and a second. All those in favor by roll call vote?
District 2, Commissioner Wakeman.
Aye.
District 3, Commissioner Starkey.
Aye.
District 4, Commissioner Yeager.
Aye.
District 5, Commissioner Mariano.
Aye.
District 1, Chairman Oakley.
Aye. Motion passed 5-0. Move on to item 64.
Proof of publication in the June 5th and July 28th, 2024 editions of the Tampa Bay Times.
Item P64 is PEG 240334. This is an ordinance by the Pasco County Board of County Commissioners amending the Pasco County Land Development Code, amending Section 1105 self-storage facilities design standards, Section 1105.2 applicability, Section 1105.4 corridor-specific design standards, Section 1105.5 general design standards, and other sections as necessary for internal consistency, providing for applicability repealer, providing for severability inclusion to the land development code, and an effective date. This is the second reading, and it comes to you with a recommendation to adopt the proposed ordinance by roll call vote.
Okay. Has anyone signed up to speak to this item? It's a public hearing.
We do not have anyone signed up in advance nor online.
Okay. Does anyone in the audience wish to speak to this item that didn't get a chance to sign up for it? Seeing no one, pleasure of the board.
Move to approve?
Second.
Got a motion and second. All those in favor by roll call vote?
District 2, Commissioner Wakeman.
Aye.
District 3, Commissioner Starkey.
Aye.
District 4, Commissioner Yeager.
Aye.
District 5, Commissioner Mariano.
Aye.
District 1, Chairman Oakley.
Aye. Motion passed 5-0. Move to item 65.
Item 65, we have proof of publication in the July 24th, 2024 edition of the Tampa Bay Times.
Okay.
Item P65 is DRD 240209. This is an ordinance by the Pasco County Board of County Commissioners amending the Pasco County Land Development Code, Section 9052E, landscaping and buffering, landscape acceptance, maintenance, and prohibitions, Appendix A definitions, and other sections as necessary for internal consistency, providing for applicability, repealer, providing for severability, inclusion into the Land Development Code, and an effective date. This is the first hearing, and Mr. Brad Tippin is here for a presentation.
Okay.
Good afternoon, everyone. Brad Tippin, Planning Development and Economic Growth. We have the basic presentation on this. Just to give a little history on this item, we did have a much larger kind of plan in place to deal with invasive species. But after we got into it, we realized that that was going to be something that we were going to need to work on much longer. So we decided to dial that back, and we worked with the Planning Commission and the County Attorney's Office and came up with some language to make what we currently have in the code now a little bit more usable. It creates a little bit more balance where it helps our code compliance folks to be able to work with people that want to voluntarily fix some situations that may be happening on their property that they didn't really have the ability to do well before. And it also clarifies a few different things that are in that code section. So that's basically the history I just kind of talked about. We did discuss this with the various stakeholder groups. And we did withdraw the prior one, which was what you heard earlier today. So this is really related to a comprehensive plan element to use native species and to avoid introducing invasive species into what we're doing as we're developing here in the county. The language that was previously in our code did not really address how you would dispose of these invasive species, and we have a few different ones, coconut grass in particular, that really needs to be disposed of in some very specific ways, or else they can create problems for neighboring, abutting roadways, county lands, and their neighbors in general. So that's what the language was changed for. That's too small for me to read, so I'm going to have to read off of this one.
Same.
So essentially what we did was we had two separate pieces that we changed. We added some language to section 905.2E, which is a code language that exists today that allows, requires people to remove invasive species from their property, whether they're developing or whether they're an existing landowner. We put some language in there to clarify what that means and how that occurs. And then we also updated the definition. Actually, we provided a new definition because the definition of invasive species wasn't clear before. So those are the items that we actually changed. You have the red lines of that in your packet. We did not put that in a slide here.
Okay.
And again, no action is required today. This is just the first discussion on this item, first reading. If anybody has any questions or anything they would like to discuss related to it, I can answer some questions.
Okay, well, my agenda says it to approve, but
Yes,
no
the
action
agenda was
required.
mistakenly said to approve. This is the first reading, however.
First reading,
It will
okay.
be scheduled on the 9/3 hearing for action.
Does there anyone have any questions?
Well, I'll reserve my comments till after some of the public speaks here.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
So I'm glad we're adding code and grass and dealing with that. That's a specialized thing, and I'm glad we're addressing that. I think that's where this all started. But I've got to tell you, we, the county, own lots of property that have lots of, let's say, Brazilian peppers, Australian pines, et cetera.
Right.
There's some on right-of-ways of road that actually holding vegetation in. That's not a bad thing. I just had a guy in Hudson actually tear some Australian pines down, and he's actually getting fined, which we'll address it and fix that. But it's hard to do all these things. And right now, I've got a development in Highlands where we took down some trees this past year that were on our property, hanging over people's property that might have damaged fences before the storms come in. We took care of that. But right now, there's actually Brazilian peppers parallel to that on the same type of plot of land, and we're saying, well, we're not responsible to remove that. So I think anytime you pass a law to exempt yourself from it is a bad thing. And until we're ready to go remove every single one that we've got as well, we really got to take note of that.
Are we exempt from this?
So I don't know that we have exempted the county from this, and I believe our Public Works team actually has their own policy that they've done that's in line with what DOT does related to these things. I don't know if they're here to speak to that or not.
Well, I guess I am going to have some questions, and I'm going to ask Keith Wiley, who heads up our natural lands, to what they do with the property they buy, because I can tell you, we just bought Gulf Harbors with them, come on up, Keith, the community, the old golf course, and we are working with natural lands to jointly take out the invasives and the Brazilian pepper. So I've never asked what you do on other properties, but I think you guys have a management plan for invasives on county
I
property.
think Keith's got an answer for you right now.
I have an answer. Keith Wiley, Director of Parks, Recreation, Natural Resources Department. So it's mixed. So in our parks, we have BMPs, integrated pest management plans that we put in place. Same thing with the environmental lands property that we purchased, same thing. Not an easy task, not something you can do quickly. It's very costly. So yeah, I think, and I know Public Works is not here, but they also have an SOP that Brad mentioned that they're attempting to do what they need to do in the right-of-way. I don't think that the focus of this change is saying that this is an easy assignment. It's just giving the staff and the team the ability to address it, if I'm correct, Brad, during the development application process. It's not necessarily to target single-family homeowners necessarily. It's how you would do this through the development application process. And there's a lot of other programs countywide that, in terms of education and just that single-family resident, that I think are also in place that assist. This is just one piece of a very large overall program.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
So don't we already have these provisions in place to not allow invasive species on new development?
So, yeah, so that kind of evolved through this whole process. I don't know if Brad wants to speak to that, but as my participation in this is that the section that I think we're talking about amending right now, it lacked the clarity to necessarily, it provided the ability but lacked the clarity for us to pursue it. So the proposed changes in front of the board today is to just add a little bit of clarity to that. Is that pretty much correct?
Yeah. You're exactly right, Commissioner. There was language that was in there previously. Unfortunately, it was more, if you think of the carrot and the stick, it was kind of the stick type of language. And what we've done is we've changed it to allow a little bit more of the carrot. So this allows for, if something does come up and code compliance needs to actually have a discussion with somebody, there are some ways to better do some voluntary fixes that don't turn it into a formal procedure and proceeding. That wasn't in the language previously. This does also exempt the residential single-family lot owner.
So is this whole thing all about development? It's not about existing properties?
Yeah, let's try to share this, because I think that would be helpful.
You can put that on the Elmo if you want. And you all have this in your packet as attachment A.
Commissioner Mariano, yes, that's correct. It's not intended to create a large overreaching program. It's to be very specific to the developmental application process.
And, we didn't have anything that anyone was looking out for, and I got a call. Well, I've been talking about the spread of coke and grass for a while, and let's try and get it before it gets so bad like some other counties are eating up with it. I got a call from a landowner from Dade City and developer that said, hey, you've got someone on 52 that is selling Kogan grass as sod, and you guys need to get out there and stop them right away. And you know what? We couldn't do it. We didn't have any rules to stop them. And so I don't know where those rolls of Kogan grass went, but they went to some development, and now someone's going to have a big headache, and it's really not going to be fair to the citizens in that district, in that if it's a CDD or whatever, they're going to have to clean it up, because the state law does tell you you have to do something with it. You can't just turn your eye to invasive species. So, so we want to try and, raise awareness and let people know if you have something, especially something as invasive as Kogan grass, you can't go spreading it around, and certainly can't sell sod as grass that is infested with Kogan grass. So I think it's a baby step. I think we'll talk about more things later, and we'll see what other counties do. Because I had one of our engineers that works in the county told me that he got, they have property in Hernando County, and they got red tagged for Brazilian pepper. So Hernando County doesn't allow you to have Brazilian pepper on your property. So, and I'd be very interested. We have 2 former SwiftMud members, and I was a SwiftMud member.
Yep.
SwiftMud doesn't allow it on invasives in their properties, right?
Nope.
Nope. And neither does DOT. So, at least we're doing something, getting a little more proactive, I think, but it's not an overkill by any means.
And yes, we are coming in line with those state agencies as well. There's Department of Agriculture and also DEP, SwiftMud, and FDOT all have regulations that are similar to what we've put in here. It's in alignment.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, thank you. Kogan grass, I know we need to address it. I'm glad we are. I think it's important. The other things you get into, Brazilian peppers, I think we need to, I'm okay addressing that too. But keep in mind, we do have a lot of it as well.
We do. We got to.
Some of the other trees that are on there, was it camphor tree was on there? Just some of them, they're not great trees, but they're trees that are growing. To removing everything, and I will tell you, I don't know about you guys, but I'm getting a ton of calls all on Little Road with all the development just got cleared out.
Oh, yeah.
We could have left a lot of stuff there. Some of those could have been camphor trees, other trees, but as we look at that, I'll look at this over the next 2 weeks, but I'm going to be cautious to go forward.
Yeah.
I do think we already have something in place that doesn't allow the planting of camphor trees. That is not on our approved list for developments, right?
Correct, yes.
We don't allow them to plant Australian pine, Brazilian pepper, camphor trees. They're not allowed to plant those.
Yes, we have a specific list of the natives and certain exotics that are allowed to be planted with new development. And then everything falls under those categories, federal and state, related to the invasives that you cannot plant. So we don't necessarily call those out today. That's what's part of the piece that's missing from what we have in our code right now.
Yeah, and remember that with Kogan grass, it's gonna take over, and everything else is gonna be gone, because no trees are gonna grow in it, no other grass is gonna survive in it, nothing else will grow in it, nothing eats it, it cuts you up when you walk in it. It's not a good thing to keep spreading in the county.
Mr. Chairman, one more question.
Okay, one more question.
Has the Tampa Bay Build Association looked at some and put a comment to it?
Yes, the Tampa Bay Builders Association was involved in some discussions. We had these talks, they've seen this, and we didn't have any negative feedback directly from them.
All right, I'd like to get something from them before the next meeting to see
Yeah.
if they approve or disapprove.
We have some.
Yeah, and I had lunch with them last week, and they were fine with this.
Yeah, I think they're on board, really.
Yeah, I believe, they verbally did say that they would be reaching out to the commissioners, but I didn't receive anything.
Okay.
But I can
Okay.
get something from them.
All right, so this is the first reading.
We got
Yeah.
some public comment there.
So I received an email last night. This is item 59? Am I the right one? No, 65.
This is 65.
Well, 59, invasive species.
Yeah, they may have put it in the
I can
wrong
read
number.
this out loud if
Yeah.
you would like to hear it.
Okay.
Good morning. On behalf of the Tampa Bay Builders Association, we would like to express our support for item 59, which pertains to invasive species ordinance on today's agenda for first reading. TBBA has been working closely with the staff over the past few months on this issue, and we appreciate the balanced approach that the staff has presented. The approach focuses on the main issues with invasive species, especially as it relates to Kogan grass. TBBA is committed to doing all we can with our builders and staff to eradicate this invasive species. We kindly request you continue to move this on to the second reading. We are more than happy to answer any questions. Sincerely, Edward Briggs, Vice President, Government Relations.
Awesome.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay. Is anyone signed up to speak to this item?
Yes, sir. We have two folks signed up. Laura Starkey.
Well, this is a first, I think.
Now, you do know if you
First in a few
speak
years,
this
yeah.
time, you can't speak the next time, right?
no, she
Oh, they can speak next time also?
This
Oh, this is
is the
wide
land
open.
development code. They get two bites of the apple
Oh, okay.
on these.
Well, good.
Laura Starkey, I have a residence at 8240 Plath Road in Newport Richey.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm Laura Starkey. I'm owner of Heartwood Preserve Conservation Cemetery in Trinity and the former director of conservation lands at my family's Starkey Ranch, back when it was still a ranch. In both of these roles, extending over the past 20 years, I have been responsible for managing invasive species on our lands. I'm really happy to see this ordinance being brought up. It's long overdue. Management of invasives is crucial to caring for any natural lands, as any land manager knows, whether if they're from a public or a public agency or from a private landowner's perspective, which is my experience. Our developments line up to these natural areas that land managers are managing, so we don't want to ignore the problem, thinking it's just an issue for swift mud or Fish and Wildlife or Parks and Recs and Natural Resources. That only exacerbates the problem. Protecting these border areas, what we call the wildland-urban interface, are like protecting your borders from invaders. So even though we do have the agencies, we have, Keith Wiley and we have SwiftMud doing a lot of work to manage invasives, it's really important that we manage them in these development areas. Just taking from a personal example and personal experience, also as a resident and business owner in Pasco County, the Starkey Ranch development, which has done such a beautiful job with landscaping using Florida native plants. It's just beautiful there. Their parks, their lakes, their walking and biking paths, they're enjoyed by so many people, myself included. But when I walk past the wetlands, which were very dutifully protected as they were supposed to be, they're just choked with Caesarweed, Peruvian primrose, Kogan grass, other invasive species. So it's happening, and we've got more development coming. I want to commend Commissioner Starkey for her work and bringing this up, and I'm seeing other support for it as well on the Kogan grass. But I would just say, it's great to target Kogan grass, but I would really recommend you don't stop there, because while it's currently number 1 on the top 10 list of invasive species worldwide, it's not the only one. So I would encourage the language to reference not just a definition of invasives, but to also reference the Florida Invasive Species Council, which maintains a science-based list of what's up to date at the time, which right now is Kogan grass and a number of others, but that's going to change over time. Hopefully, we'll get, globally a better handle on Kogan grass, but, 10 years from now, it may be something else that we're not even looking at right now. So that list is going to change and grow, so I would just encourage that the language use, a reference that's science-based.
What was the name of that, Laura?
The Florida Invasive Species Council.
You pay her to say
It was formerly called the Florida Exotic something, but they've updated their name for it. So, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments.
Jennifer Sini.
Name and address for the clerk.
Jennifer Sini, 25605 Apple Blossom Lane, Pasco County, Wesley Chapel.
Hey there, Miss Sini. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. Don't take that off my time.
Better hurry.
My opinion of this invasive ordinance today amendment to section 905.2. I got to put my glasses on. It has some flaws that I think we could address. And the flaws, I believe, could lead to some unintended results. In other words, I think this can be strengthened. Number one, although it is good that the best management practices for maintenance shall be included in the development review manual, there is no indication of when such practices are to be applied initially. The action of identifying, listing, and planning for removal should happen in the site planning stage, and I believe we should state it in the ordinance. Number two, if you call out one invasive, then call them all out. And the reason that's important is we have invasives like soda apple, air potato, Brazilian pepper, and others. Or better yet, as Laura said, specifically reference the Florida Invasive Species Council Category 1 list. These are the worst of the worst. This would be more focused than the current reference to the IFAS Ag list, which is too broad and doesn't rank according to damage done. My friend Eva Bailey, a scientist who is serving on your ELASC committee and who is out on an assessment today, said to me, and I'll quote, "The justification for naming the list is that it is based on science and evolves with new data and stays up to date," end quote. So the third thing I want to say is, yes, Kogan grass is bad, but as the revision stands right now, only naming Kogan grass will lead to the permission by omission behavior that some attorneys and developers will not hesitate to use. And finally, where is the follow-up in this ordinance? Will it be possible to condition the invasive action required? Who's going to check? When will we check? And for how long will we keep watching? I'm glad you're attempting to address Pasco's invasive plant species. I think this is a good start, but I do believe we could tweak this and do a little better. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Jennifer.
Anyone else signed up? Or
No one else signed up and no one online.
WebEx? Nobody? Okay. Anybody in the audience wish to speak to this item? No action requires any discussion we'll have before we move on.
Can I suggest, though, that you take into heart some of the suggestions that were given, and then let's talk about them at our second reading, and see if we need to make these changes, because they make sense to me.
I agree.
I agree, too.
Both speakers had some very good points to
Yeah.
consider.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
You know, we were briefed on the other item that was going to come that got pulled to be replaced with this, so I think we should get briefed before this comes back to us as well, with the changes.
Do that.
All right, very good. Thank
So
you.
this is the first of two public hearings. The second hearing will be held on September 3rd, 2024 at 1:30 PM in Dade City.
Yeah.
And as you're driving, look at all the Kogan grass popping up as you go.
Okay. All right, now it's time for public hearings. Mr. Steinhardt, will you please read the procedures?
Be happy to, Mr. Chairman. There are two rezoning agendas, regular and consent. The staff will present each application to the Board of County Commissioners. If staff or Planning Commission has recommended approval and there is no opposition, the application will be considered by the board without further presentation. If staff or Planning Commission has recommended denial, or if there is opposition to the application, the applicant will be given 5 minutes for presentation. The opposition will be given 3 minutes for each individual, or 5 minutes for a group representative, and the applicant will be given 3 minutes for rebuttal. Any individual disagreeing with staff or Planning Commission recommendation, or anyone wishing to object to any condition of the rezoning, may at this time request the petition be pulled from the consent agenda, in which case that application will be heard under the regular agenda later on during the meeting. Otherwise, all rezoning applications on the consent agenda will be approved by a single motion and vote. If you wish to speak to any petition, please give your name and address and whether or not you've been sworn for the record. These are quasi-judicial public hearings. The law in Florida is that mere public support or opposition of an application is insufficient for this board to take action. Please limit your comments to those criteria found within the board's land development code. This is for the zoning items. You have other public hearings on the agenda.
Okay.
And Mr. Clerk, would you like to swear them in?
Yes, at this time, anyone who wishes to provide testimony to any of the zoning items, if you will please rise and raise your right hand. Again, if you intend at any point in the zoning matters to provide testimony, please rise, raise your right hand. Do you and each of you swear or affirm the testimony you will give in these matters is the truth, so help you God? Thank you, and you can be seated. As you come forward, as Mr. Steinsnyder said, just please confirm that, along with your address, that you did receive the, were sworn.
Who's that? What is it? Okay, we'll start with item P66.
P66, we have proof of publication of the hearing of this resolution in the Tampa Bay Times, August 7th of 2024.
Good afternoon, Chair, Commissioners. I'm Jerry Williams from Public Infrastructure Fiscal Administration Department, Admin Services Manager. So today we have PIPA 240376, a resolution by Board of County Commissioners of Pasco County, Florida, dissolving Carpenter's Run Phases 3 and 4B, streetlight service areas as of December 31st, 2024. So for this dissolution, it was actually presented to us by the Homeowners Association. So the Homeowners Association currently manages the other streetlight service areas within the community. So they requested to take the responsibility back for this service area. So of this service area, there are 31 streetlights, 189 parcels, and the energy provider is Duke. And this is just a depiction of the streetlight service area. So the recommendation, accept public comment.
This seems like a no-brainer. Anyone?
It's up to you. You can talk after this. Do consent. After this. Okay.
So this is a public hearing.
Yes.
And I'm assuming that based on this, the homeowners association will either pay the power bills or they will be, Duke will turn the lights off.
Correct, sir. So the county will relinquish responsibility of this on December 31st, 2024, and then the homeowners association will assume responsibility for that.
Okay. Do we have anyone, this is a public hearing, is anyone signed up for this item?
We do not have anyone signed up in person or online for this item.
Okay, is anyone in the audience wish to speak to this item?
Seeing no one,
No one?
approval.
We got a motion to approve
Second.
and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passed, 5-0. Move on to P67. Oh, excuse me. We're going to move over to the start of the consent items and go through them before.
You want to just do consent or continuances? You want to do the zoning items all?
How many of those we got?
You get 3 continuances and then you move on to consent.
Yeah, this
at
first one's
71.
not a.
Well, might as well just do the just.
Continuances and consent? Sure, sounds good.
So you're talking about doing P68? The
Yes.
Start with P68 through the continuances.
This item was continued from the June 18th VCC meeting where it was continued to today.
Good afternoon. Denise Hernandez, Planning, Development, and Economic Growth. Item P68 is PEG 247739, zoning amendment in the name of Fletcher MPUD. This is a staff requested continuance to the September 3rd, 2024 Board of County Commissioners meeting at 1:30 PM. That way the PD and MPUD go on the same meeting.
Okay. Need a motion to continue to,
Continue time certain?
Second.
okay, got a motion and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed, 5-0. Move on to P69.
Originally published in the May 1st, 2024 edition of Tampa Day Times, it was continued from the June 18th BCC meeting to today.
Item P69 is PEG 247783, zoning amendment in the name of Jan and Gordana Vujanovic. It's, the request is to continue the item to the October 22nd, 2024 Board of County Commissioners meeting at 1:30 in Newport Richey.
Move to continue time certain?
Second.
Got a motion second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed 5-0. Move on to P70.
P70 was advertised for a hearing at this time in the Tampa Bay Times, July 28th, 2024, and by affidavit of certified mailings and site postings provided.
Item P70 is PEG 247806, a zoning amendment in the name of Lakeshore Boulevard LLC. The request is to continue the item to the September 17th, 2024 Board of County Commissioners meeting at 1:30 in Newport Richey.
Move to continue time certain?
Second.
A motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion passed 5-0. Move on to P71.
P71 was advertised June 5th, 2024, and July 28th, 2024, and we have been provided with an affidavit of certified mailings and site postings.
And this is the first consent item, and I believe I heard earlier that we wanted to pull, was it P78?
I think,
Have you got your concerns?
yeah, I confirm that, yep, I'm good.
Concerns have been resolved. Commissioners,
Okay.
What number?
P78.
78.
Look at
I'd like to have that pulled.
Oh, you'd like to have that
Yeah.
pulled, so we pull that and then come back to it, okay? For discussion. All right, the first item is P71, so,
So P71 is PEG 247777. It's a zoning amendment in the name of Sand Hill Ridge MPUD, Master Plan Unit Development, Habitat for Humanity of Pinellas County. It's for a rezoning from an R1MH, Single Family Mobile Home District, to an MPUD, Master Plan Unit Development District, to allow for the development of 23 single-family detached homes and associated infrastructure on approximately 4.39 acres, with variations as stated in your agenda packet. Comes to you with a recommendation of approval with conditions from the Planning, Development, and Economic Growth Department and the Planning Commission.
okay. This is a public hearing. Is anyone here signed up or wishing to speak against this item?
We have,
No one signed up?
yep.
Okay, no one signed up, nobody on WebEx, and no one to speak against it. Remains on consent, and we move forward to P72.
P72, again, proof of publication, Tampa Bay Times, June 5th, 2024, and July 10th, 2024, and an affidavit of certified mailings and site postings provided.
On this item, P72, which is PEG 247792, it's a zoning amendment in the names of Shaw Sashin K. and Sarmila Shrestha. It's for a rezoning from an AR1 Agricultural Residential District to a PO1 Professional Office District. Staff is actually requesting that this item be continued to the September 17th, 2024 Board of County Commissioners meeting at 1:30 in Newport Richey. On this item, there was a request from the Planning Commission that there be a deed restriction attached to it, and that deed restriction did not make, neither the finding regarding the deed restriction nor the deed restriction did not make the agenda packet, so staff is asking for a continuance.
So it continues.
I'd withdraw this from consent and come back and.
Okay, we'll come back, and this is P72. We'll come back to it at the end.
Okay.
Okay? All right, going to P73.
Proof of publication in the June 26, 2024 edition of the Tampa Bay Times.
Item P73 is PG 247798. It's a zoning amendment, Cuthapally, Edmund Ripoff, for a change in zoning from an R1MH, single-family mobile home district, and a PO1 professional office district to a C1 neighborhood commercial district with a voluntarily agreed upon deed restriction, limiting those uses to those uses, reserving the uses to the uses that are consistent with the C1 district. It's also known as the Live Local Act deed restriction. Comes to you with a recommendation of approval from the Planning and Economic Growth Department and the Planning Commission.
Okay. Is there anyone here wish to speak against this item? Seeing no one, we remains on consent. Move on to P74.
Proof of publication, Tampa Bay Times, July 10th, 2024.
Item P74 is PG 247800. It's a zoning amendment, Pasco Window and Door plus More LLC, for a change in zoning from an R1MH, single-family mobile home district, and C2 general commercial district to a C2 general commercial district with a voluntarily agreed-upon deed restriction that reserves those uses for the uses consistent with C2, also known as a Live Local Act deed restriction. Comes to you with a recommendation of approval from the Planning and Economic Growth Department, Development Economic Growth Department, and the Planning Commission.
Okay. This item, is anyone here to speak against this item? Seeing no one, it'll remain on consent. Okay, P75.
P75, proof of publication, Tampa Bay Times, July 10th, 2024, and by affidavit and of certified mailings and site postings.
Item P75 is PG 247801. It's a zoning amendment, affordable secure storage for a change in zoning from an I1 light industrial park district to a C2 general commercial district with a voluntarily agreed upon deed restriction that reserves those uses where those uses consistent with the C2 district, also known as the Live Local Act deed restriction. Comes to the recommendation of approval from the Planning, Development, and Economic Growth Department and the Planning Commission.
Okay, is anyone here to speak against this item? Seeing no one, it will remain on consent. Move to P76.
P76, we have proof of publication, Tampa Bay Times, July 10th, 2024, and by affidavit of certified mailings and site posting.
Item P76 is PG 247802, zoning amendment, Hudson Group Partners LLC, SR 52 storage/retail, for a change in zoning from an MF1 multiple family medium density district to a C2 general commercial district with voluntarily agreed upon deed restriction, limiting those uses to those uses consistent with the C2 district, also known as Live Local Act deed restriction. Comes to you with a recommendation of approval from the Planning and Development and Economic Growth Department and the Planning Commission.
Okay, is anyone here to speak against this item? Seeing no one, it remains on consent. We move to P77.
P77, Tampa Bay Times, July 10th, 2024, and by affidavit of certified mailings and site postings.
Item P77, it's a zoning amendment in the name of Anthony Gaedo for a change in zoning from an AC agricultural district to an I1 light industrial park district with a voluntarily agreed upon deed restriction, reserving those uses for those uses consistent with the I1 light industrial park district, also known as the Live Local Act deed restriction. Comes to you with a recommendation of approval from the Planning, Development, and Economic Growth Department and the Planning Commission.
Okay, is anyone here to speak against this item? Seeing no one, it remains on consent.
And I believe that's the end of your consent agenda.
Yeah.
78, did you do some?
We'll entertain a motion on the consent items.
Move approval.
Second.
I got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Let's go back to P72 for that continuance, I think.
So do you just need a motion, or do we have to take public comment? What do you
We
have?
have to
Yeah,
take
we'll take
public
public
comment,
comment,
because,
yeah.
and what was the date it was being continued
The
to?
date of continuance is September 17th, 2024, 1:30 in Newport Richey.
So if anybody is here and wishes to speak to this item that cannot be here on the date that Ms. Hernandez just announced, you are free to speak now. If you speak now, you will waive your rights to speak at the
September
later,
meeting.
the September meeting, 17th.
Yeah.
17th? Is that-
Yeah, 17.
September 17th.
Meeting for this item. So is there anybody in the audience who wishes to take the opportunity to speak to this item now?
We have no one signed up either online or in person.
Okay. Does
Seeing
anyone
no
in the audience
one,
wish to
it would-
speak to this item? Okay.
Yeah, it would be a motion to continue time certain.
Move to continue time certain, September 17th, Newport
Right.
Ritchie.
Right.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Motion passed, 5-0. Move on back to P, which we pulled, is a P78.
Right, P78 is PG 247805. It's a zoning amendment in the name of LS McAmis Blue Sky Storage for a change in zoning from RMH Mobile Home District to a C2 General Commercial District. As the parcel is COM, Future Land Use Commercial, and the applicant proposes to develop the property with a freestanding recreational vehicle boat storage in conformance with the C2 General Commercial District standards for development in Section 1105 of the Land Development Code, which is self-storage facilities design standards.
I'm not sure that we did the proof of publication
Oh, so sorry. Thank you so much.
announcement, but
Appreciate it, Mr. Clerk.
Tampa Bay Times, July 10th, 2024, affidavit of certified mailings and site posting. Thank you.
Okay.
So the site location is within Central Market area, not within the urban concentration area or any of the rural areas. This is the context map. To the west of it is a mobile home park. To the east of it is Shady Hills Drive. Shady Hills, yeah. And let's see, this is the aerial of the property. As stated, the parcel has a future land use of COM, commercial. And the current zoning is RMH. Currently, there are agricultural pursuits on the property. It's approximately 2.4 acres. Sorry about that, it's Moon Lake Road. I don't know why I thought it was Shady Hills. Moon Lake Road, which is a county-maintained arterial road that has 80 feet of right-of-way, and it's adjacent to a conceptual planned Moon Lake Road trail. And we are recommending that the Board of County Commissioners approve this item, and this comes through the recommendation from the Planning Commission as well of approval.
Okay. This is a public hearing, so is there anyone to speak to this item?
We have no one signed up or online.
Okay.
I did.
Does anyone in the audience wish to speak to it? Seeing no one, then it goes to the board on discussion.
Thank you, Chairman. Denise, if you go back to the map, please.
Of course.
So Moon Lake is redeveloping and developing. And so looking at this road long-term with road right-of-way, possibly expansion, the mobile home park behind it could potentially be sold into the future. I don't have an issue with this use today, but I'd like to sunset the use, put, say, 15-year time limit on there. And then that way, if things continue to evolve in this area, that we just don't have storage sitting on a potential 4-lane, right on the front of a 4-lane highway. So I'd just like to put a clock on it.
What do you mean by that?
You can, we can put 15-year. Where's Mr. Engel? I'll give him the credit for this one. So when we were discussing the use, there's different scenarios where they can be what it is for a period of time, and then it sunsets. And within that period of time, there's significant right-of-way on Moon Lake. It could become 4 lanes. And then you have storage, outdoor storage sitting right on a main thoroughfare. It's a pretty road, and behind it, it's one owner. These aren't individual homes, so it could evolve into something. So if we set this up for perpetuity, I just think it could evolve to something potentially bigger and better and leave options. So talking it over with staff, well, it's not necessarily inappropriate to put a 15-year time on it, and then when it's up, then it can be readdressed, or the owner can do what they want. So I just don't want to make a decision in long-term as the Moon Lake area grows and improves, that we don't have what we've been trying to get better at in this county, sitting right there on the main roadway.
Okay, so it's not a vertical storage facility. This is boats and RVs?
Boats and RVs.
Just
Well,
open.
that's sometimes a placeholder for something else, so that whoever owns it is getting money until it,
Yeah,
yeah,
I'm
it
not
becomes
saying
something else.
no to the.
Yeah, I like your approach.
Yeah,
But this is you.
Yeah, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
We have done that in the past for special exception uses, and there's been a number approved that way. However, this is a Euclidean rezoning that you're not going to be able to just condition. Now, the applicant could add that to their deed restriction. They're already doing a deed restriction for live local, but that would be up to the applicant to see if they're willing to agree to that. We have standard language that does what you're talking about, that we've imposed on some special exception approvals. But I would want the applicant to get up and say they're willing to add that to the deed restriction.
I agree. And the other thing I'm going to ask for is, and maybe it's already there, is that they cannot put a chain link barbed wire fence across the front of Moon Lake Road.
Mr. Mariano?
Thank you. I was first intrigued by it because I haven't seen that done by this board, so interesting to put the time clock on it. But one thing that I do like better is by taking it away from the RMH, which we don't want to see it there anyway, it does at least keep it in a different zoning, which is going to be something when they get ready to develop, when the need's there, it's going to happen anyway, as long as they can't build structures and it's just regular RV. So you're actually helping stimulate it by not putting a clock on it, as opposed to doing something now.
Is the owner of this property the same owner as the mobile home park behind it?
This,
Ms. McCamus is in the audience. I don't believe that she owns a mobile home park behind it.
you need to come forward.
When you get there, state your name and address.
Nancy McCamus, 10919 Moon Lake Road, Newport Richey.
Ma'am, could you confirm that you were sworn? That you took an oath?
Yes, I swore.
Okay, thank you.
In a couple of quick comments before you go any further. One, the mobile home park is not owned by us now, but it was developed by the McCamus in '72. So we've been there since 1972. And our hope is that we were to do this RV boat storage, just so we had some income to hang on to what we have, because we are the 200 so acres behind this. So that's what I just wanted to address. We really, we've been, people have come to us and said, hey, we want to buy your property. We really enjoy being there, and really haven't had any plans to develop. And the other thing is, you do plan on widening Moon Lake, but that's been on the books a long time, and it still hasn't happened. I don't know where it is now, but you know, I can't bank on what's going to happen in the future, but I hope to stay there for a very, very long time. Okay, any questions for me?
Well,
I guess my question is for staff, which is better? I mean, to Commissioner Mariano's point, we're not denying, we're not, you know,
Oh, it's
you're
okay.
in a good spot. But I guess the goal is to prevent potentially vertical storage and have architectural design standards and, you know, things that make it look and act like a better use of the place. So,
So what you're proposing is that we just do RV storage open for 15 years and then revisit it, is that correct?
that was with my conversation of staff based on the evolution of Moon Lake Road as we, you know, as time goes on. And that way it's complementary to whatever the potential, whatever happens at the RV park behind it, if that owner decides to sell it or what have you to something maybe bigger and better. I just didn't, it's a prime location. You have a great spot, and I hope you're very successful with it. I just want to make sure the decision we make today sets it up for you know, you all and the site for tremendous success for the county as well. So if you think it's your area, so.
It's on the border.
Mariano?
But I mean, really changing from RMH to a C2 is a good thing. And if she's just going to keep this, when the market's right for her to make a change, she's going to make a move. Until then, you're not putting any pressure or any guns on it. Just, it's a simple thing. It's a good thing to go to C2, I think.
Okay, all right, we'll leave it as it is.
I do have a question, because is that a mobile home community or a travel park?
No, it's a mobile home park, mobile homes. I believe it's supposed to be 55 and up, and currently they are, yeah, and the one next, then just, there's another one, Imperial Oaks, which is right next to it, and, you know, we're back behind all that.
Okay, and, it's a toughie, because, boy, you sure don't want to see this on a main arterial road, but you know what? They're really needed. There's a big shortage of RV and boat storage.
Yeah.
So I'm torn a bit, but I do think it's good to get it to C2. But I want to, Liam, is there I don't want chain link and barbed wire. And it's not,
I would say this, I'd love to work with the county on what is the best look for it, okay? We want it to be good and secure.
Yeah.
And that's one reason, chain link.
no, you got to put a fence around it.
Right.
But not,
But
doesn't have to
we
be
would like
chain
to
link.
work with that, we could do the site development. We didn't go through the site development first because we wanted to make sure, in fact, we could do it, you know.
Chairman?
Yeah.
Chair, not to get into it, where are we at with, when we kind of horse traded up here to take a look at the fences? When you have storage, you need something a lot more secure than a vinyl fence, right? So for these folks to feel safe and confident of leaving their property here at this site, they're probably going to need something the strength of chain link and then covered with some nice buffering or what have you. So where are we at with that modification to the ordinance? That way this site's successful.
Yeah, I don't know. I've seen several different ones. The good quality chain link fence that's 50% opaque, I personally, we think that's a good fit. And we've looked around at a variety of them in Pasco County.
I'm sorry, my question was to staff. That wasn't pressure on
We
you.
may or may not
So
have
that
tweaked
was-
our ordinance. We had
Yes.
a requirement that across the front of a major road, it had to be a decorative metal fence.
Okay.
Which is, frankly, the metal fence is where the rods go
Right,
straight up and down, and you can't climb over those. A chain link fence, you can stick your foot in and climb right over.
I know it's for staff, so, but I know that we would work with you on that, is what I want
Okay.
to say.
We're getting somewhere.
Okay, so two things to state. So 1105, which is the section that they have to comply with, specifically states that that razor wire and similar materials, chain link fences, should not be allowed there. Additionally, it states that they have to be screened from view from all property lines that are adjacent to right-of-ways by a 50% opaque fence or wall between 6 and 8 feet in height. So it's already embedded in the code.
Okay.
And then to answer the question regarding the changes that the board asked us to do, which is on industrial properties, and to state that they're coated, vinyl coated fences, that is going to the LPA on 9/17, I'm sorry, on 9/19, the BCC for first reading on October 8th, and the BCC for adoption on October 22nd. So it's coming your way very soon.
Okay, well.
So they'd be able to have pretty decent security, that way they could get customers and?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Pleasure of the board.
All right, move approval.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, that passed. The next is a regular item, but we're going to go back because I think I missed an item. Didn't I leave an item back here?
So you've got 67.
Yes.
Which is the MSBU.
Can go to that. Okay.
67?
57.
60.
67, excuse me.
It's the Oaks. Oh.
It's on page 15. Page 15.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, we have proof of publication of the hearing of this matter in the Tampa Bay Times on July 28th, 2024.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Christina Cordone, Assistant Director, Parks, Recreation, and Natural Resources. Before you today is a resolution to establish the final assessment rate for the Oaks Park MSBU. A little bit of backstory to this project. So the property is currently zone MF1, and it was approved to build 102 units.
Apartment units.
Apartment units. On March 25th, 2014, the BOCC approved an item to proceed with the acquisition of the property and to establish an MSBU. On June 24th, 2014, the BOCC adopted Ordinance 14-10. That ordinance established the boundary and the MSBU for the property. After that ordinance was adopted, there was a pause on the property because several legislators wanted to apply for state funding to see if they could secure funding so the residents didn't have to be assessed for the property. And unfortunately, all those legislative asks were vetoed, so that funding was not received by the state. So after that happened, in September 2021, our department took an agreement to the board to establish the interlocal agreements for the tax collector. The property appraiser one was already established. In August 2022, we presented a resolution to establish the final rate of the MSBU for Oaks. And at that board meeting, we received direction to confirm the boundary and potentially explore surplusing the property. So after that, our department worked with the facilities department to look at potential avenues to surplus the property. And facilities presented an item in September 2023 to surplus the property. However, at that board meeting, we had several residents that spoke up and they wanted to kind of keep the original intent of the property, which was open space park element. So here today is us bringing this item back to the board after we received the direction to not surplus it. So for today, the MSBU would be $142.99. And that would be to reimburse for the acquisition cost of the property at $3 million and some maintenance and overhead costs for the first 15 years. And then after that, the assessment rate would drop to $25, and that would be for basically maintenance and overhead costs. After we looked at the boundary, we ultimately ended up hiring a survey and mapping entity to confirm the boundary for us because there were some questions on the boundary. So the legal description that was approved in Ordinance 14-10, that legal description was given to a mapping and survey entity, and so they confirmed that this was the boundary that was approved in that ordinance. And so ultimately, that led to the MSBU boundary having 1705 units. And so before you today is bringing you back the recommendation of moving forward with the MSBU.
I just have one question, because I heard this morning in public comment that someone stated they thought the boundary was not correct. So the boundary we're being presented today is correct.
Correct. The boundary that you are presented today was confirmed by a mapping entity.
Okay.
They took the legal description that was approved by the ordinance, and that was what determined that shape that you see here today.
All right.
Mr. Chairman?
Okay. Yes, sir.
So as the person talked, and if you're looking at the map, you see the red area. Right across the yellow line is property. Is that what the lady was talking about today? Do we know? One public comment?
Keith Wiley, Director of Parks, Recreation, Natural Resources. I wasn't here for public comment, Commissioner, so I'm not certain.
Yeah, I'm
What
not
she was
sure.
saying is like there's some properties closer by within the half a mile that weren't included. Meanwhile, other places on the outside were. And she was outside, I think she said she was outside and she was still included.
Yeah,
So much as the ordinance may be written correctly, is it the way it should be? And what would be looking at it, why are those interior parcels like left out? Is it access or is it?
Yeah, we've been investigating that question for quite some time. So I have actually the memo back from 2014, and I'm just going to attempt to paraphrase and read from that memo because I think it gets to the question, Commissioner. The boundaries, basically the boundaries were determined by the neighborhood park definition that was in the comprehensive plan, which ultimately basically gets to trying to serve residents providing a service within a half-mile walking distance of the property, but only 50% of all of those in question. And based on us reviewing this multiple times and confirming the legal description that Mrs. Gordon just discussed, we feel that it meets the intent of the original, the original boundary that was created. It does appear that's why we get these questions all the time, but based on the original intent back from 2014, the existing plats at the time when this ordinance was created, we feel that it's accurate.
So I think the term she uses as far as the crow flies.
Right.
But if we're talking walking distance, that could explain the difference?
It could.
Okay.
But Keith, based on what Christina said, you all have compared the ordinance legal that was adopted by this board in 2014 to the people that are in the assessment role, and they match.
That's correct, yes.
Can't speak from the audience. I said you can't speak from the audience. Sorry. Okay. Any other question, brother? All right, this is a public hearing. So do we have people signed up for this item?
Yes, sir, we do have several. First one on my list is Cindy Fargo.
Cindy Fargo, 5030 Gallatin Drive, Newport Richey, Florida, 34655. After over 10 years of objecting to the propriety of this MSBU, we welcome the fresh eyes of 2 new commissioners on this issue. We trust you read our objections in detail. We reaffirm our contention that proceeding with this MSBU and related annual special assessment is illegal, unethical, and fiscally irresponsible. This MSBU was not necessary. There is no reason to have individual property owners on the hook to reimburse the county for paying off a developer 10 years ago from county general funds. The big bad developer is out of the picture. The county has owned the property since 2014 and has had the ability to recoup their general funds immediately by changing the zoning and deed restrictions to ensure reasonable, compatible development and selling the property at a significant profit. The value of the property has increased substantially in 10 years. We recommend the parties who are demanding the property remain undeveloped purchase the property outright and annex the property to their common areas to own, control, and maintain in perpetuity. This MSBU is established as a funding source to recoup general funds used to pay off the developer. It was never about providing an essential service to the targeted property owners as required by statutes. We contend this is an abuse of the BCC's authority to establish an MSBU, and the special assessment is illegal taxation, placing an undue tax burden on Southern Oaks property owners while providing the communities of Heritage Lake and Riverside Village with unjust enrichment. We are, in essence, paying for and maintaining additional common areas for their communities, although the county retains ownership of the property. Southern Oaks property owners already have 127 acres of common area to maintain. They have paid in excess of $1 million in HOA assessment fees over the past 10 years and maintain their common areas, including approximately $30,000 this year to make necessary improvements to their stormwater retention pond system. We have no need to pay for or maintain additional unimproved areas located outside of our community. The continued lack of transparency regarding the establishment, activation, and planned commencement of special assessments over the past 10 years is scandalous. The terms of this MSBU have not been properly presented to targeted property owners, and they never had the opportunity to vote on this issue at any stage. Reaching into someone's wallet without permission is a crime. This MSBU should be voided. We notified the BBC 2 years ago that we fall outside the prescribed 1/2 mile inclusion for this MSBU and should be removed from the special assessment tax rolls. We're 0.75 miles away. That's not within 1/2 mile. Anyway, we request our 2 objections that were timely submitted on August 13 be read into the record. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Next person.
Next person signed, and again, I believe it's Jean Cifelli.
Move to receive and file.
Second.
Got a motion second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved, 5-0. Yes, ma'am.
Good afternoon. I'm Jean Cifelli, 5030 Gallatin Drive, Newport Richey, Florida, Southern Oaks subdivision. My late husband and I retired to Pasco County in September 1993. The prices of new homes were reasonable, property taxes were low, low-cost homeowners and auto insurance were available and utility costs were affordable. Fast forward 31 years later. I'm 93 years old. We seniors are faced with huge increases in all of the mentioned costs of housing, plus the soaring inflationary costs of food and other living expenses. Seniors living on fixed incomes have difficulty adjusting to this new reality. Even some younger neighbors with 2 wage earners are questioning if they can afford to stay in their homes any longer. Many seniors are forced to take out reverse mortgage loans to cover their living expenses. And now, the BCC wants to add to our financial pain by activating this MSBU, which does not provide any essential service to property owners of Southern Oaks. The county is planning on adding to our taxes for road maintenance. The block walls surrounding our subdivision are crumbling and need repair replacement in the near future. This would require a substantial increase in our homeowners association fees. Can we count on surrounding subdivisions to pitch in on these costs? I think not. Sell the property to a developer subject to reasonable and compatible restrictions, or allow Heritage Lake and Riverside Village to purchases from the county if they choose. It has been 12 years and we are getting tired of this whole botched up mess. Void this ill-conceived Oaks Park MSBU. Thank you.
Our next person signed up, I'm a little confused. I believe Charlie Chuck at AOL.com. Ace. And your last name and address, please, sir.
Yes, good afternoon. My name is Charles Eldred, E-L-D-R-E-D.
Thank you.
I live at 9824 Kingsport Avenue in Newport Richey and Heritage Lake. I was involved in this project, I think we really go back to about 2005. But when we made this agreement in 2012 and 13, it was my understanding that we were going to get this money from the state, through Mr. Corcoran and Mr. Fasano, but that didn't come true. So it was my understanding that probably by 2015 we were going to start paying this debt off, and I'm really in favor of the MSBU, but it's been going on so long. In that amount of time, Heritage Lake is probably 75% of the people at Heritage Lake have no idea what this was all about way back in 2005 up to 2013. And I'm really not happy with the $631,650 interest fee on this $3 million. I really think the county's got to look at this and make some considerations because of the amount of time it's been since 2012 to 2024 collecting this money, because like I say, at Heritage Lake, probably 75% of the people have no idea what this was all about back when. And I know it goes back to 2005. I'll answer any of your questions. Do you have any?
I'm not sure it was 2005, but were you part of the We Are 5,000 Strong back in the beginning?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
Yes.
All right. Thank you very much.
5,500 strong.
5,500, yeah. We
Yes.
did a lot of work, yeah.
Thank you
So,
for your comments, sir.
Thanks so much.
Next person.
We'll answer the interest when
you.
everyone's done.
William Day.
William Day, 9248 Nile Drive, Riverside Village, Newport Richey. Invasive species, I think I can put the oaks on that list, because that's the name of the apartment complex with 4-story buildings encompassing that 40 acres of land. I don't think a lot of people realize what we stopped in that group 5533 going on about 10 years ago. Not in my backyard. This has been going on. I don't know what happened, if it falling through the cracks. We could have been 10 years into paying this, or however the time period was. It's a beautiful piece of land. I understand all the controversy around it, but they were talking about bus routes going in there. They were talking about, could imagine the hundreds of people and the amount of traffic going in and out of there. There is an opening on the east side of Amazon Drive that goes into that. We can open that up to mitigate some of that traffic if you'd like, okay? As far as zoning goes, it's zoned for, and I don't know the terms, multifamily building or whatever. Another idea, and this is coming personal, I'm not speaking for the group, I'm talking personally. Single family. The county wants to sell it off, put individual homes in there, not 4-story apartment buildings with all that traffic and buses right in the middle of a neighborhood, okay? It's been going on too long. It needs to come to an end. You guys you've seen a lot of us from the 5533 group up here. Let's end this particular invasive species, talking about the other thing that we talked about with that growth. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your consideration.
Thanks for coming today.
Thank you.
James Conlon.
No clapping, please.
James Conlon.
My name is James Conlon. I live at 4704 La Crosse Court, Newport Richey, Florida. When I heard this, it was supposed to become a park, and a park is paid for by the whole county, not just a little small development. And it was supposed to be a park. What happened?
Well,
You have to make your statements. We don't talk back to you on a public comment.
Excuse me?
Just finish your statements, so.
That is my statement. It was supposed to be a park. Why isn't the whole county paying for it?
Okay, well, we'll answer that when everyone's
We'll
done.
answer it when we get to our discussion. Thank you.
Fred Colucci.
Fred Colucci. I live in Heritage Lake, 9109 Cotswold Way. I've lived there for the past 28 years and in Pasco County for the last 45 years. I'm against the charge, and why am I against the charge? Well, Heritage Lake has 932 units or homes. It's a 55 and older community. The majority are probably 70, 80, and 90 years old. I'm 92 myself. However, I think we should not be paying this extra tax. I don't care how you look at it. It is a tax because it comes on a tax bill. Heritage Lake has, as I said, 932. The $3 million that the county purchased here makes the charge for Heritage Lake $1,990,000. Okay, we're paying almost $2 million for the property. The balance goes to those in Riverside and those in Southern Oaks. It's not fair. A few years ago, you went to the state to get some funds, and we fell flat on our face. Our commissioners, our representatives didn't do so well. However, we could try that again. But the county owns this property. I don't think there's anybody here that would buy or get a house and pay for it but not have an ownership. And here we are, 1,705 people paying for this property, but we don't have an ownership. So I'm asking that you take this off of the tax bill. If you want to make a park out of it, fine. You own the property. You can do whatever you want with the property. And just take it off and don't put that burden on Heritage Lake, Southern Oaks, or Riverside. Thank you.
No clapping.
Next up, Garth Esplaw.
Garth Ashbaugh, 4723 Portland Manor Drive, Newport Richey. I live in Heritage Lake. I spoke on this a year ago. I am one of the new guys in the subdivision. I've only been there a year. I understand nobody wants to pay money, okay?
Yeah.
I'm in support of this thing, but nobody wants to pay for it. Nobody thinks about what's going to happen to their property values when 100 apartments are built in their backyard. Nobody thinks about what it's going to do to schools and to the traffic. I appreciate having the green trees, and I'm about a block and a half away from the trees. I appreciate the wildlife that comes out of there. All I would ask is that I know about operating costs and overheads. I'm an accountant. And so I assume, I haven't seen the numbers, but I'm assuming these numbers are derived from allocations. I don't see where you're going to be spending a lot of money on that property. I don't see where you've spent a lot of money on that property, okay? So I would just encourage you to proceed and finally put this thing to bed. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, that's the last that we have signed up that are present. We do have three persons online.
There's some people that did not sign up that wish to speak. Line up behind the podium. Come forward. Yes, sir. Name and address for the records.
I arrived late. Do I need to be sworn
No,
in?
this is not a sworn public hearing.
Okay, fine. My name is John Russell. I live at 9652 Cavendish Court in Heritage Lake. Been living there about 5 years. If you look at your little plan up there, the red square,
Yes.
right on the north side of it, right in the middle of that, that's where I live. And we already talked about the zoning, which I think is multifamily, MH5, something like that. My question on that is, will that zoning be changed to either a preserve or a park zone? So that's question number one. But for some of the other people here, that one thing we need these protections for, besides if you build 40 multifamily ones in there, that's going to be 300 to 400 vehicles a day more in and out of there. We do not want Heritage Lake going through to Amazon Drive, or that would put through traffic in there with all of our walkers and bicycle people. And so we want it to stay as is. I also want to work on the invasive species, but also to be able to give home to the wildlife that's there. Currently, every morning and evening, we have about 11 or 12 deer that come right on through our yard, and there are at least 10 endangered or threatened species that live in there. I would like to see that 41 acres protected for all of the future. I do not personally mind paying that $142. I think that is very reasonable. Thank you very much.
Thank you. No clapping.
Marcus Coe, 9304 Nile Drive, Newport Richey, Florida, 34655. 2013, I was in Afghanistan, 5th tour between Iraq and Afghanistan. Sorry. I agree with paying this money. I don't want to see 4-story buildings. We see it everywhere. Drive down 54, that's all you see anymore. I went to high school here. I remember when it was country roads, everybody loved it. Now, We just approved Avalon to put the apartment buildings. Why are we putting more up in the same community? I have no problem paying the $144, but is Avalon paying it? They were approved to put 65 apartments there 2 years ago, because I was in here with a lot of the people I see out here fighting it. But the board saw it appropriate to put more apartments up. So are they getting cash from that from the days that it starts right now, like the rest of us? Are we being fair and impartial to everyone that stands? I understand some people are older. I'm younger. I've got a long time left. I understand I'm going to be paying on it because I bought my house to come back to where my family lives. My dad, my aunt, my uncle. I'm invested in this community. But if we're going to be invested in the community, the board has to stand behind us. How are they standing behind us? I thought it was going to be 50-50 what the portion of it was paid for. The community was going to pay half and the board was going to be paid half. That's what I was told when I bought my property. Would it have stopped me from buying there? No. I love my community. I love my neighbors. Hell, half my neighbors don't even know my name, but they know my dogs. They know Rohan. They know Riley. Well, they knew Riley. But they know them by just walking up. I will tell you the amount of traffic that has changed coming through my neighborhood, and I live on Nile. It's not an open-ended street. People fly down there. I'm at the point now, I'm about to come in and ask if we can put speed bumps on my street because people are going too fast on it. I get worried that my dog's going to get a hit. I yelled at one guy, he backed up, he wanted to fight me because I was outside talking to neighbors and we got kids out there. What do you do when you put 104 more people in there? How many cars is that? If you have 104 units, that's what? 2 per apartment, right? 2 more vehicles. There's 3 exits out of that community if you try to look them up. You've got Nile, you've got Heritage, and then you've got to go all the way down through the bottom to get to Starkey. There's 3 exits. You can't do this. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. No clapping.
You're going to have to say that a little more forcefully.
Good afternoon. I'm Marlita Lassiter. I live at 9457 Nile Drive, and I have been a resident of Pasco County for 57 years.
Wow.
I've seen Pasco County from the sleepy town to what it is now. Urban development is good, but in the right places. Our neighborhood, I've lived there for over 20 years, has been plagued with flooding. And this is a real essential part of why I have fought for the development of the MSBU. The MSBU is important to the residents that surround that area because any building is going to require elevation of the property that's located in MSBU. When that happens, it will flood most of the homes surrounding it because we were not required to build at a higher elevation above the floodplain. I fortunately have never been flooded out, but I've seen the water. I have the 55-foot wide, or the 50-foot wide canal behind my house. That is not maintained properly. It is a drainage canal that runs through 5 communities that surround that area. I have seen it flood. I have seen Amazon flooded to the point where in 2012, Tropical Storm Debbie covered the roads. Amazon Drive was the worst there was. We had a commuter who was trying to go through there, and his car actually went off in a 8-foot deep ditch, and a neighbor pulled him out of the water. It's dangerous. If we build in that area, you're going to have to do millions of dollars of additional work on the utilities, and I don't know how you mitigate the flood problem we have. But I've been with 5533 Strong since the beginning. I was an officer, and I've watched this whole thing, and I have worked for my community. So please, everyone understand that this is for the quality of the neighborhood. We don't need more development in that area. We can't carry it. We don't have the roads or the sidewalks or the utilities for it. Thank you for your consideration, I'm willing to pay the money that it takes to keep our neighborhood quiet and peaceful for the kids and the people who live there.
Ms.
Thank you.
Ms. Lassiter, did you sign in as Marty?
I did.
And I
That's Marty.
apologize, I
I'm
overlooked
Marty.
your
My
name.
nickname's Marty.
Thank you.
All right, thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Thank you.
No. No clapping.
I did not sign in, and I did not
You
swear.
can speak.
You're fine, ma'am. Name and address, please,
Okay.
for the record.
My name is Miriam Butler. I've lived at 4347 Genesee Lane in Riverside Village Estates for 24 years. And when I first started appearing before you to talk about this property, my hair was black. It has been a long time, and we have presented all kinds of evidence about drainage, about wildlife, about traffic. And I'm not going to go over all of those details again right now. But a few months ago, Marty Lassiter and I were interviewed by a reporter from Bay News 9, and we walked the field with that reporter. And at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, in the heat of an afternoon, a herd of 6 deer walked right by us across the field. So we see that all the time. We enjoy this wildlife. And I see neighbors from Southern Oaks and Heritage Lakes and over on Patrician Drive and River Chase. People use our neighborhood all the time to walk through and enjoy it and to pass by the park. And some of us go past the no trespassing signs that are still up there, and we enjoy the land itself. Some of the people have talked about no transparency, but it's been real transparent from my point of view. In fact, we're getting tired of coming here and talking about this.
Agreed.
So and I can also speak. I'm the president of the HOA of our little neighborhood, has 96 homes. And I know that my people want to pay this tax. We want the peace that we presently have to go as undisturbed as it can, as whatever the future will allow, but we want this park. We feel it's a benefit to us and to anybody who is within walking distance. Please approve it. Thank you.
All right, thank you for your comments. Gotta stop.
My name is Robert Rock. I go by Bob, 9417 Stonewall Lane, Newport Richey, Florida. I'm one of the original members of the 5533 group, going way back when, along with Marty and Bill back here and that. For some reason, it seems to me that, and I'd heard some rumors, and that we know that the guy who apparently made out in this whole deal was a guy by the name of Chris Schurer, who sold the property to, I believe, or bought the property and then sold it to the county, and had it's supposed to be been some payments made, and so on. But anyway, and I'd heard some rumors that some of that money had went to the Sunset Beach. And I said, I can't believe that some of that money would go to Sunset Beach, and I still don't believe it to this day. But nevertheless, I heard the rumor on that. And as far as the MSBU is concerned, I want to thank Catherine Starkey, who bought us a year last year, and to push it off till this year, and now it looks like it's going to hit us this year. Do I like it? No. Can I live with it? Yes. But I'd like to see this thing come to a close and get this thing behind us, and thank all those who were involved with this atrocity over the last few years. Thank you.
10 years, I think. Thanks, Bob.
Commissioners, I'm Nancy Eckstein, 4715 Portland Manor Drive in Heritage Lake. I'm tired of coming back here. I really want this over with. It's not fair that some people are going to have a hardship paying this, but $143 frankly, is the better of the evil that could be if you're building there. We don't want that. Plath Road is going to affect us too. Boy, is that going to affect us. Please, let's get this over with. Vote on it, get it done, so we could go home and I don't have to come back here anymore. Thank you.
Palmer Black, 9818 Kingsport Avenue in Heritage Lake. I've been there for 13 years, and we originally, what we thought was going to be was a park paid for by the county. And I understand now we're going to pay for it. And if it is a park, anybody can go to it. So why do 1,700 homes have to pay for it? Really, there's a lot of flooding in the area, and I understand these people down in Riverside have that issue. Why not leave this at a park or use it as stormwater area? Let the drainage be made better for everyone who lives around there. Because even Heritage Lake Boulevard, in a really bad storm, has flooded over. There's been a lake over it. So I think that's another option. Can I pay $145? Yes, I can. But there are a lot of people, and I agree with Southern Oaks. What do they have to do with that park? They can't even walk there. So I don't think I can't walk there. I have to go all the way around if I wanted to use the park. So I really think this is a county issue. They should have the park, they should pay for the park, or use it for the betterment of drainage in the area, which is necessary. And I have to say, I am very concerned with all the building that's going on Little Road. If that's going to change any kind of drainage, which can happen, look at those people down in Sarasota. I think that would be a terrible thing. So I really think this should be looked at again for the betterment of everybody in the area. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
That's the last one lined up, right?
Is this the last person that's from Pekin that hadn't signed up?
Last but not least. Okay, my
there's
name
a
is
lady
C.J.
standing
Mahovic. I live
Okay.
at 4905 Sandpoint, and I'm in Heritage Lakes. Let's talk about something we all are worried about. Money. How much money did the county save by not putting in a 4-story, low-income housing facility in a landlocked piece of property that has no access to the main roads? How many people would you have put in there? Low income. How many people would have required public transportation? How many people would have had to come through the roads that go through a 55-plus community, 2 other communities? What would the roads have looked like? How much would you have had to put into the roads to maintain those buildings? All right? What about the police presence that you would have been called to in that community? How much money did you save over the last 10 years by not putting that in there? Now, we are talking about invasive species. We have got a blank piece of property that could be an incubation point for invasive species. How much money is that going to cost us as taxpayers? You're looking to every one of us in this little corner of property to pay off what the county already owns. Forget it. I mean, get rid of it. It's not going to do you any good. You're talking about impact fees. You want schools. This isn't a viable piece of property to build on. I understand that it is also sinkhole prone. That's why the developer, no, this is going into a sordid rumor that the developer got rid of the property because he couldn't build on it. He found out that he had sinkhole problems with it. Okay, public transportation. Now, what is the advantage to putting a park preserve in there? We are all having this thing from the state. We went in there to get a park. But wait a minute. The gentleman just recently said how many species live there in that area? we can put that as a preserve. We can save it for our children to see this. How many of you have seen turkeys, fox, hawks, owls? We have. I've seen it. I had a coyote walk through my backyard, look at me and say, "Hey, bud, here I am." So we need to protect those green areas. You're spending what kind of money to go ahead and put preserves out here in the county for a green belt to keep the species here? Hey, if those species go away, so do we. The quality of our life will be reduced. And this is why, and by the way, okay, I got 2 seconds.
Your time's up. Okay.
I came here in 1974. I lived in the county for over 40 years. Then I moved into this facility in 15. So I'm one of the latecomers to this one, but I would have been on that committee.
Right.
Thank you very
sir.
much.
Thank you.
Here's your last.
Yes, ma'am. This is our last speaker. Welcome.
Good
Address,
afternoon.
name and address for the.
Good afternoon. My name's Kathleen King. I live at 9542 Danville Court in Heritage Lake. I'm a newcomer. I'm only here 8 years. I retired here. I was looking for peace and quiet, and I got it. I didn't even know about these 41 acres that were behind the home that I live in. I will never use this as a park. I took a drive on my own just to see where it was, and it's nowhere in walking distance to where I would go to this park. Is the MSBU tax the better of the two evils of it being developed? Yes. Can my senior neighbors afford it? No. If this is going to be a park, I agree with the previous commentator that said that the county should pay for the park. And that's my statement. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much.
I think you have 3 online.
Or do I have 3 online?
Yes, there are, I believe, 3 online, and then 1 is trying to, I believe, if he cannot connect, to call via phone. He did connect. Okay, so the first one we have is Mandy Jacobs.
Okay.
She's on? Okay. Ms. Jacobs, you can go ahead and speak. And please say your name and address for the record.
Good job.
Ms. Jacobs?
Sorry, I was muted.
Okay.
I apologize. Yeah, Andy Jacobs, 9237 Amazon Drive. We are actually just up the way from the area in question for development. We are newcomers to the neighborhood. We've actually just moved in here this year. My concern is that if it is developed into a multifamily complex, what does that do to our, as everybody else has stated, property values, maintenance costs, safety and security? Everybody has already mentioned the increase in traffic. This area is, from my opinion, it is a safe area. People are able to walk through the neighborhoods and adjoining neighborhoods fairly safely. But there is traffic and the cars do fly through here. I know that there are several children who live in this area, and I'm afraid that the increase in traffic would just reduce the availability for these kiddos and other people who live in this community to be safe outdoors while they're enjoying the beautiful space. We have also seen several, animals and other wildlife creatures that have ventured out of that area into our front yard. So, that's great. That is something that my little guy gets to see, and it's beautiful. I think that that's something that we should definitely preserve.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Julie Harrison? Joe Tepedino?
Hello, my name is Joe Tepedino. I live at 4908 Sandpoint Drive in Heritage Lake. And I sent a letter to Ms. Gina Jeffries regarding my opposition to the MSBU. And I wanted to know if that letter has been received by the board and can be used to be placed to public record for this meeting.
Yeah, we got a couple.
Yes, that one has.
It has.
And will it be read into this, into the record?
It'll be received and filed.
So the people who are listening right now will not be able to hear what my letter has to say to the board.
We don't read letters into the record. We receive and file them. If the board has received them, they've read them, that's the process. You have 3 minutes to make your public comment.
Got 2 left, yeah.
That's all.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Once again, calling Julie Harrison. Maria Barch.
There you go.
Ms. Barch, we're not hearing you.
Not there.
Last call, Julie Harrison, Maria Barch. There is no one else signed up. So, well, we got one joining.
Here's somebody.
Go ahead,
Hello.
please. Yes.
My name is Maria Barch. I live at 4625 Cavendish Drive in Heritage Lake. I'm a newcomer to the community, about 6 months in, and I can see the land in question from my backyard. I am in agreement with the majority of the Heritage Lake speakers that have spoken today. It is a beautiful wildlife area. I'm very concerned about the flooding and the infrastructure problems that may occur as well. And I'm opposed to building on that property.
Is that all, ma'am?
That's all.
All right. Thank you for your comments.
That concludes those that have signed up.
All right. Mr. Waitman?
Thank you, Chair. So, not done this before. It's kind of a mixed bag. If y'all can hear me, raise your hand if you're in support of the MSTU, please.
BU.
BU. And then so for it. Opposition.
Just one hand.
Okay. So, we heard a number of different things about, the taxes and the impact on your pocketbooks. Last budget hearing, this board passed a senior tax exemption of an additional up $50,000. If you've lived in your house for over 25 years and based on your income, you could potentially receive an additional $50,000 exemption on your home. And it sounds like some of the folks may at least meet the time requirement. And if you do, please contact the property appraiser's office to see if you qualify and you can receive that level of savings on your taxes. And that's some good work done by our board, and it's gone into effect this year. A speaker mentioned some new eyes on the board and stepped outside and discussed this opportunity with staff, and I'm just going to throw it out there. So we have 41 acres, and we talk about the affordability of living, and we're trying to figure out age-restricted living product, senior living, and we have grants and money that need to be spent. What's the thought of taking this 41 acres and doing single-story duplexes for affordable housing? It's just not an option that was out there. We heard a litany of things. It sounds like it's a no, but we were challenged. I was challenged as a new board member with some new eyes and viewpoint, and that's a real problem that we have. The solution to that is there's no tax. The problem is there's building on there. Another issue is it's not high. So anyway, I figure I pitch it out there to the board, just a general idea of fresh eyes on what we have there. And we hear you. So I throw that out there. We have money. It doesn't sound like people are in agreement, but the wheels were turning and listening to folks, and it's kind of a balance of both worlds. And I just open it up for general discussion. But please, if anything, call a property appraiser and see if you guys qualify for the senior tax exemption. That's real, and we did that. And then the other, I'll leave it open for the board. Thank you, Chair.
That was a good point about the seniors. Mr. Carballa, on our new one for the road paving, is there also something for income? Does anyone remember? Didn't we do something for income?
There? I don't believe there is.
No? Okay.
No, ma'am.
Well, gosh, I've been at this from the very beginning.
Sorry, Commissioner, I will say that there is some relief on existing PVASs. So if there are, I don't know what the status of PVAS would have been in this
area.
I don't remember if we did any
that
in
would
there,
be the
but if
only-
you
the only
are currently paying a PVAS, which is the old road paving system, we are taking that off of your bill, and the county's going to be taking that over. So as some of you know, and I'm so glad to see some of the original 5533 folks that came to this room in red shirts, filled it up, lined the walls. It was a thing. And just for our newest commissioners, and you're not going to know this history, Lisa, but this was a leftover piece of property within this development that Mr. Scheer actually inherited in his divorce. And it had zoning rights on it that were multifamily. As a matter of fact, a whole lot of this was zoned multifamily, but developed as single family in the middle there. So it was a very, very unusual circumstance. I will say all of this area, River Crossing, Southern Oaks, Cattleman's Crossing, and all the neighborhoods in here were developed as something known as a sub-DRI. So at the time of the development process in the state was that if you were doing a property, and Jeff, you would remember, what was the threshold, 10,000 homes?
Well, no, so it was based on population, and so back then, it was probably 1,000 homes for Pasco County, and if you were at 80%, if you were below 80% of that threshold, you could get away from the DRI process, and so there were a bunch of 999
That's what this was.
lot homes
Yes.
that
Because
avoided the process.
some of this property that was bought came from our family. Some of the most eastern property came from Starkey Ranch, actually. And, you know, it was allowed, so what can I say? The developer did it in little pieces, and he avoided what happens when you do a DRI back then, which was coming up with a road network, school impacts, and parks requirements. So that is why none of these neighborhoods have any parks. There's no park in Southern Oaks. You have retention ponds, because my kids played football in your dry retention ponds, because there are no parks in this, no community parks, no neighborhood parks, nothing. That is not within what we consider a walking distance or a comfortable bike ride within the community. If you were building these today, for every 100 homes, you would have to have an acre park. And what is the current park impact fee? And each one of your houses would be paying this much towards building parks in the county.
For me to give this statement right now, considering the comments earlier.
I know, but go ahead.
It is $3,450 per dwelling unit.
Yeah, but none of these houses built paid any park impact fee because they were all built before that time. So what happened? The developer came in, he had the rights to build multifamily on here. I think it's 160 or 170 apartments right in the middle of this neighborhood, which was crazy. And we didn't want to approve it, but legally, the only thing we could vote on was the site plan. And
Actually, you couldn't vote on the site plan.
yeah, we couldn't even, we really, our hands were tied, but it went 3-2 against, and Commissioner Mariano was here, and he will tell you, he got personally sued by one of the toughest attorneys in the state of Florida David Smolker, because you can't, they broke the law. The three of those commissioners literally broke the law and got personally sued.
Actually,
Okay.
I'll correct you on the
Right.
facts.
From the attorney.
The three of the commissioners got a letter of an intention to sue under 1983, the Federal Civil Rights Act, for basically not following advice of counsel, and the board reversed the vote.
Yeah, so
There was nobody got
no,
sued.
no one got sued, but they were under the threat of suit.
It
And
also
they-
wasn't David Smolker, it was Robert Lincoln.
Yes.
Oh, that's right. I thought it was Smoker.
Boy.
Something happened. Just as tough as Smoker. So, I orchestrated this deal. I said to the developer and to the community, we have to pass this. We don't want to. It doesn't make any sense to put apartment complex in the middle here. Are you willing to sell your property to the community, not to the county, but to the community? Because they took a vote and they said, we'd rather have a park and pay for it than apartment complexes. So that is how the deal happened. So it wasn't the county buying a park, because this is not where they would put a park. This was the community saying, we'd rather preserve this property for the community benefit than have apartments. So the county loaned this community the money. And we have been through this many times. These people have been coming up here like every other year, pitting neighbor against neighbor. It's not good, it's not healthy. We decided at the last big hearing, it's gonna be a park. We started the MSBU, and now we just need to finish it. As far as insurance or tax, we have not put any tax on this property, correct? There's no tax, so that 3 million is just still 3 million. So we've been eating
They
it.
said interest, and.
I mean,
and
interest.
That's.
I don't think we have any interest on there.
Here it comes.
Yeah, it's 0.05 interest, so.
Oh, okay.
0.05 is the interest assessed, and Mr. Grant just told me a little bit ago that the standard assessment interest on other standard assessments is 7.5 or 7%, so this one is 0.05%. I don't know if I got that right, but I think.
Okay, you know what I'm gonna
Close
say?
enough, yeah.
I think we need to eat the interest. It's part of our fault that this isn't done yet. So I'm gonna make a motion, if it's
clapping.
legal, that be taken out, that as accrued for this sitting here all this time.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, we have not accrued
Wait.
any interest on this, to
So
my
what's
understanding.
this, you're talking about on the assessment?
On the assessment.
Moving
yeah,
forward,
moving
so we haven't accrued any. All right,
got another
stormwater, there's no stormwater, we looked into that. There's no storage there. That's kind of why you fled, there's no ability to put
About
ponds
half
there.
this property is wetlands.
Yeah. So I did the
Mariana.
interest, and so no money went to Sunset Beach. That $3 million went right to the developer, because we bought that property for him and have been holding it for this community ever since.
Yeah. Mr. Mariano?
So I appreciate both commissioners, and Commissioner Waitman, you always come up with unique things to bring out, but I think it was pretty clear what they were saying. Last year, I think it was last year or the year before, we actually went out and actually looked to the market to see, because we thought the property had gone up enough. Maybe you'd have enough for single-family homes, maybe enough for townhomes, and neither one was going to cover it. So we kind of, we're going to bring it back again this year. This board was working with the state legislature real close. We thought we had a lot of power, and we did, to try to get that done. And we waited, I think, 2 separate terms to try to get it done, because they were convinced they were going to get it done. For those who you didn't know about it, I mean, this is something that was like a wide-open conversation. You frankly, maybe you should have been notified, I don't know. But we did want to make sure that we protected it, so that it didn't go to somebody else that could flip it and then put something on there, because the rights were there. So I think we made a good move at getting it, and I think it was good for all of the county, especially with a lot of things that have gone on. The reason we didn't assess it is just for that. We've done this similarly in Gulf Harbors. We've done it similarly in Timber Oaks, where they had flooding and they had development concerns that was going to go in. There was one point at Timber Oaks, they're actually going to fill in a pond and go put development on it, as part of their plan was. We didn't do that. Magnolia Valley, we bought that. We haven't assessed them in MSBU either, which is something hopefully we'll come up with a better plan.
But Commissioner Starkey, I think you're right, and I think this is something that is an exceptional situation. We've had it so long, we don't want to do anything with it, and the way people are seeing all the development around it, if we can slow down development, so be it, especially right here. So I think your idea of going with no interest is brilliant. I was going to go the same way, but I'm going to give you the brilliant call, just to cut down the cost. So with no interest on it, to sweeten it a little bit more, I think if we stretched out the term from, was it a 15-year term, what we're going to look at? 15 years? I mean, let's go to 30 years and stretch it out so the payment's less. The money's going to come back in the coffers, it's going to go, and at least it makes it better and more palatable for everybody to go through it.
I wouldn't go that long, because time value money, that 3 million can't buy us back what we could have bought with it 10 years ago. So I wouldn't look to go, go that far, but I see our administrator kind of concerned. Do you want to speak up on this? I mean,
You can.
we have to be careful what precedents we set, so.
Been 10 years. So, I mean, at the end of the day, it's the purview of the board. We certainly, would not want to set a precedent on these various MSBUs that this board has adopted over the years of just forgiving, but you would want your terms to be consistent with that. I think 15, 20 years, those types of things are probably okay. Interest, I mean, 0.05 versus 0, I would argue they're probably mathematically almost the same. So, I mean, I think we could probably live with that and then, move forward. I don't know what the component of your maintenance costs would be, because I know there are issues sometimes with vacant land and maintaining it, and
Currently, it's the maintenance assessment is around $25 as a part of the total proposed today. And we just did some quick spreadsheet math. If you took it or extended it to 20, the payment with no interest is around $119. Is that the number? $119 per household from $142, going from 15 to 20 years.
I'll go with that.
I don't think it makes a big difference.
Every little bit helps. There's seniors out here.
Commissioner Wakeman has his hand up.
Well, wait on y'all to finish.
Oh,
Mr.
well,
Wakeman?
I just wanted
Thank you, Chair. So,
May have his
we,
hand
what we purchased this land for way back when?
3 million.
3 million?
Yeah,
Flat?
3 million, yes.
And so they're only going to be paying off 3 million flat?
Correct.
Half of it's wetlands.
Well, in addition to the maintenance assessment that we talked about, that's about $25 as well to maintain it.
Per resident per year?
Yes, correct.
that's the all-in number, Keith?
Yes.
Okay, I'm also reminded here as well that just by way of comparison, the Timber Oaks assessment, which is a stormwater project, it's about $112 per residence, so you're $119.
And we're paying off Gulf Harbors in 5 years.
Correct.
Yes.
You had ELIM money too, though.
What?
You had ELIM money with that too, though.
Mr. Wakeman?
And then Commissioner Merritt, what was your proposal on time? Did you give a specific number?
I don't think
You said y'all would
I said
do 30 years?
in years, I
I
think.
said 30, but if it went to 20 and that was more reasonable, 20 helps. I can go with that.
Does it matter if we're not charging interest?
Well, it
No?
does to every MSBU that's coming.
Yeah.
It's a precedent setting, right?
They're all having it.
And others are paying interest, so this one,
Typically, they're 15, but Timber Oaks, again, by way of comparison, is the longest one, and that was set to 20 as well.
but
So
what's the
I
interest
think-
rate they're paying?
I can't tell you offhand, I know it's $112. Mr. Grant, do you remember the interest rate?
I believe Timber. Justin Grant, Director of Public Infrastructure, Fiscal and Business Administration. I believe it's around 1% or less. I believe it's around 1% or less is what Timber Oaks was adopted.
Do you know what
A similar
Gulf Harbors is
discussion.
paying?
I do not. Keith, do you?
Okay.
Proposed is 100, and a portion of that is to pay back the actual capital acquisition, and the remainder is for the maintenance portion.
But what's the interest?
That I don't have handy, yeah.
So,
We need to be consistent.
so in the spirit of being consistent with these scenarios that we're facing, if there's no interest on this one, then I think we need to look at the other deals we've made and make them all uniform across the board. Because of the precedent-setting nature of this. I'll leave it at that.
It's hard to say, because they're all different. Like Timber Oaks, they had growth issues that were coming in, where they wanted to get some stuff. There was a battle that was happening. There was also proof that the flooding that was going on could be minimized if we didn't do it. So that was a different one, and that took a lot of construction, et cetera. The one with Gulf Harbors, if you look at it, we paid for the land, but we used ELAMP money as well. Now, it's an isolated piece of property. This is an isolated piece of property. It was used, that was a lot of vegetation out there, et cetera, so that's why you use ELAMP money. So you can't say they're treated the same, because they're a little bit different. And whether it be .05 or whatever, I think it's just a little bit of goodwill with all they've been through, all the stuff they've stepped, and they were willing to go for it from the get-go. We pulled back on it because of state legislators. So they're not the fault to go forward, and I don't think we are either, but it's just, they're all different scenarios. The others were executed right away. This one hasn't been. And if you look at the demographics from what you're hearing, I think give them a little bit more slack with this unique situation. I don't have any problem justifying it.
So 20 years at zero interest? Is that
20
what
years,
we're
zero
saying?
interest,
And just the maintenance fee.
and the maintenance fee.
Not
Keith,
sure that-
can your, well, this is general fund money, not parks money.
Right.
So, CFO, county administrator,
I'm sorry, my attention was diverted.
this is general fund repayment, not
Yes.
parks repayment, and where Gulf Harbors was ELAMP repayment. So 20 years, no interest? Are you,
That's fine, yes.
okay, I make that motion.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second.
Just to correct the record, Commissioner Waitman made a comment about your adopting of the senior homestead exemption.
Yeah, tell
which
them.
would- Commissioner Waitman made the comment about the senior homestead exemption. That was adopted by ordinance, correct? It goes into effect in the 2025 tax year. So the trim notices that you will have received won't show that extra, and you need to apply for it. So that's, you need to talk to the property appraiser about that for the 25 tax year. It's not in the 24 tax year.
Okay. No, sir, can't talk from the audience. Sorry.
So this is in my district, and so we'll plan a time, plan a meeting with the different HOAs that are in the area, and we'll have further talks about what you guys want, because this is your park. So that's what we did at Gulf Harbor. So we have a,
The other comment that came up, though, is, and I think the board had already committed to this, is will the zoning be changed on
oh
the
yeah,
property?
I have that here.
And I think that the board has always discussed changing it. It's just the last year or the year before, we were talking about putting it out on the market, so.
Right.
Yeah, and I think that we, the Parks team can continue to assist if that's the direction of the board to pursue a land use change, obviously.
If this,
So it would
if this is
be-
going to be a park,
Yeah.
no one around there paying for this MSTU should be worried about it changing and being a 5-story multifamily unit down the road, because we're taking that off, and it's going to be open space as a park.
So what would it change to?
We would work with the planning team on that.
Okay, and
It could be
we'll
parks and
take that
open
on
spa- it could be
internally.
Parks and open space, yeah, category, most likely.
And the county will take on that, not, the community doesn't have to take that on.
No, that would be a county initiative.
Okay, will county
And if
initiate
I
the
could
change?
take this 41 acres away from this, is this 41 or 40, how many acres is it?
It's approximately 40 acres.
40, yeah. I'd love to have it in my backyard. But I can't move it, so.
You could
But
make it
it's
a
something
pickleball
beautiful to
court.
have if you're near that, that'd be great.
And just, Chairman, if I may, so the Parks team did communicate with the presidents of the HOAs, and we had conversations about what they would want to see in an upcoming assessment, whether it be, the repayment of the loan and general maintenance and additional improvements. And the general consensus at that time, and again, we're talking to a handful of people, not 1,700 homes, was let's just get the assessment secured and the general maintenance locked down. And to your point, Commissioner Starkey, we can meet with the community in the future and use that MSBU as a vehicle similar to Gulf Harbors, of how if there was a desire to do some improvements, I heard Commissioner Yeager say pickleball courts or something, whatever that may be, then we can have those discussions at that time.
Okay. It could be a shade structure and a grill and some tables, you know? Something for a neighborhood cookout.
All right, so I have a motion by Commissioner Starkey and Commissioner Mariano, I believe, second.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Motion passed 5-0. So, okay.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. This gavel doesn't work very good for clapping, so, but thank you. Now, we have one more item in the P items. The last item is a
P79.
P79.
79.
Quiet, please. Quiet, please. Quiet, please.
Got the bailiff. What number?
Doesn't work.
What number are we on?
79. P79. No, no, sir. No, sir. You can't ask a question. I'm sorry, but that part's over.
Or ask for the staff.
We'll have someone walk out with you and answer your question. There you go. Thank you, sir. Sorry about that.
P79, we have proof of publication in the Tampa Bay Times, published June 5, 2024, and July 10th, 2024, and by affidavit of certified mailing and site postings.
Liam Devine, Planning and Economic Growth Department, P79, PEG 24-7790, in the name of Bayonet Lands LLC and Bayonet Gardens. It is a Euclidean zoning amendment from MF1 Multifamily Medium Density District to MF3 Multifamily High Density District. The future land use classification is Res 24 under the comprehensive plan, and the applicant proposes to develop the property with 294 multifamily age-restricted apartment dwelling units, with 50% of those units set aside for those incomes at 80% AMI or lower. In conformance with the MF3 Multifamily High Density District standards. The subject site is located on the southeast corner of the intersection of Lakeshore Boulevard, Dallas Drive, and Community Court, approximately 650 feet west of 5A Road. And it's located in the West Market area and urban service area. Here is our contextual view. Here is our zoomed-in aerial. The surrounding future land use to the north is ROR, Res 6, and Res 24. To the east is Res 6 and Res 24. To the south is Res 6, and to the west is ROR and Res 6. The surrounding zoning to the north is PUD and MF3. To the east is PUD, MF3, and PO2. To the south is AC and PUD, and to the west is MF1 and MF2. The subject site is currently undeveloped on approximately 19.98 acres. Access to the property is from Lakeshore Boulevard, a county-maintained local road with approximately 70 feet of right-of-way, and Dallas Drive, a privately maintained local road with approximately 70 feet of right-of-way. The subject site is located approximately 660 feet west of the plan/conceptual 5A trail, and this project has a voluntarily agreed to deed restriction as provided in your agenda packets. And this is coming with a recommendation for approval from Planning Commission and Planning and Economic Growth Department. I'm here if you have any questions.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir, Mr.
This is a
Mariano.
project that's been trying to come on for about 20 years.
That all?
And I tell you, it's really close to US 19, really close to a shopping mall with food, et cetera. Really close to HCA Bayonet Point Hospital. Because the trail was just built and is being constructed right now, was what gave it bonus points actually let it come forward.
Nice.
So this is going to help a lot of seniors, a lot of low income that can't afford. This is the affordable housing that would maybe a Senate president might like to see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like this
So
project.
I'm gonna say I fully support what's going on here.
Same.
If you don't mind, I will add that trail is scheduled to be completed July 27th, 2025.
Well, they've got about 90% of it poured, so it's gonna be a little quicker than that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's
we
good.
could have this done in like 2 months.
Right.
They've moved on it way ahead of schedule.
Okay, this is a public hearing. Is anyone here to speak to this item, or anyone signed up to speak?
No, sir, we have no one signed up or online.
Okay. Anyone in the audience wish to speak to this item? Seeing no one?
Move approval.
Wait a second.
Oh,
Sorry, before, we do have some housekeeping, and I forgot to mention. We did receive an ex parte communication for Commissioner Mariano, which will be provided to the clerk's office.
Okay, all right.
Move approval.
No. Got a motion
Second.
and a second? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion passed 5-0. Next item is a regular item, which is number 58, or 57. R57. David, welcome. Where you been?
Welcome, Chairman Oakley and County Commissioners. I'm David Allen, I'm the Utilities Director, and I'm just going to tee up the presentation. We have a presentation for you on this one, and basically what's being presented before you is a $2.2 million grant from Florida Department of Environmental Protection to allow eligible residents in South Central Pasco to upgrade their septic systems to an advanced treatment system. And so with that, I'd like to introduce both Garrett Van Lent. He is our utilities policy analyst, as well as his supervisors here, Cisco Pavez, and both of them were instrumental in getting this grant together for us. And so I'd like to turn it over to them. Thank you.
Hello, Commissioners. My name is Garrett Van Lent. I'm with the Utilities, here to present on Septic Upgrade Incentive Program. A little bit of background on the program. A variety of legislative initiatives in the past couple of years have established Basin Management Action Plan areas, or called BMAP areas, which are environmentally sensitive spring shed areas. So what ends up the nitrogen, the phosphorus that goes into the soil in these areas ends up in Weeki Wachee Springs, which is to the north in Hernando County. Lately, there has been further initiatives by the state to solidify the maximum amount of nitrogen and phosphorus and other chemicals that go into the ground in these areas, and this grant is a response to that. This grant will help us eliminate nitrogen by encouraging homeowners to upgrade their septic systems to have nitrogen-reducing enhancements. This grant has been offered to other counties that have BMAP areas in the spring. A location map has the area. This is the Weeki Wachee Basin Management Action Plan priority focus area, highlighted in yellow. You see to the south, it's 52. To the north, it's the county line. Over east, it's Highway 41. And in the west, it's Suncoast Trail, then transitions into Shady Hills Boulevard. So this is the area in which residents can qualify for this septic upgrade incentive program to have their septic systems upgraded. This is in District 5. Like Mr. Allen said, it's a $2.2 million grant with FDEP for Department of Environmental Protection. There is no matching or local funds that are going to be required from this grant. The FDEP would reimburse Pasco County Utilities monthly for the money that comes out of our pocket for these reimbursements to the homeowners. We would offer $10,000 to homeowners to assist them in upgrading their septic tanks. Typically, this project costs far more than $10,000. It could be in the 15 area, depending on their septic tank and the upgrades. They have a variety of upgrades they could choose from. This is a pass-through grant. The grant funds go directly to septic installers, and we'll get into that in a second. And Pasco County plans on subcontracting the administration of this grant to a subcontractor that we'd hire. A little bit of the process of this program. The homeowner first would confirm via our website that they would qualify for the program. To qualify, you just need to live in that priority focus area. It doesn't matter what dwelling you have or the size of your lot. This is about these septic tank So any septic tank is eligible for the program. Then the homeowner would choose a septic installer of their choice, a licensed septic installer or plumber. The septic installer would then apply for the program. They would submit an initial packet of information, including permits from Department of Health, if applicable, electrical permit from the building administration. They would submit their business license number and their state registration. They would include a vendor application form similar to what other counties have in their processes. Then once they apply for the program, our program administrator would take a look at that the application, either approve it or deny it to move forward. Eventually, the septic upgrade would be completed by the septic installer. Then they would apply for reimbursement from the county by a second packet of information that includes proof of work done, pictures, inspections, and a proof that the homeowner has paid the balance, anything over $10,000. Then again, the program administrator would approve or deny that second packet of information. The county would reimburse the septic installer, and we would request reimbursement from DEP on a monthly basis. We have a timeline. We're working with the purchasing department. After you, of course, approve the grant, we would submit it to FDEP, and then we would seek a program administrator, use the purchasing department's processes. We expect this to be early January, based on our conversations with the purchasing department, and we would have communications plan to outreach to these folks and an online presence that would cater to both homeowners who are interested and septic installers looking for further information. That's my presentation today. I'm open for questions if there's any.
Any questions? Think y'all too tired for questions?
Yeah.
Commissioner Mariano. There's a left side there, too.
All right, Commissioner Mariano.
All right, so with all the people that you're going to be going out there looking at septic systems, it's quite a big number. To me, if you're going to do this one by one by one, I don't think you're going to get the bang for the buck you could for the people. If you had one list out there of the people that wanted to get it done, you would compile that together and then put it out for a bid for someone to go bid on all the work in one shot, I got to think there'd be some savings there. Have you looked at that approach or considered it?
No, we've based this model on other successful counties. Hernando County, for example, has an incredibly successful program. So we really built our program based off of what currently has worked with counties, but we can look into that and get back with your office later on.
I mean, what does the board think? If you're a contractor, you can go bid on like doing 100 jobs. Don't you think you can put your resources together to go from one to the other and do it more easily?
Are they required to hook up?
No, this is different from septic to sewer. This is septic upgrade where the homeowner would actually get their septic tank to be better at treating nitrogen. So that's why the area is separated. But however, you would be correct if we can get a whole neighborhood and go in and get a contract.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I know it's not septic, so I'm just saying, if you're going to get one guy, you can bid on like 10 of these jobs in one shot, or 100 of these jobs. He can put a whole team together, simplify his costs, and I gotta think it saved money.
I just wanted to clarify what your approach is, Commissioner. Are you suggesting that the county contract with the septic installer, or are you suggesting that, look, if a neighborhood gets together and they can kind of self-promote and hire someone? There's a difference, because if we're managing the work, our administrative costs will go up, and we do take on certain risk and liability with it that I don't think we really want to do.
Well, even if we can somehow coordinate for them to go through to put the bid out, let's say you put it out there, okay, here's what we're going to go do. You have a meeting, public place. Who wants to get it done, subject to what the costs are? And then, once you get the numbers together, you can then say, okay, let's go put the bid out and see who wants to bid on it, see where the numbers come in, and those that want to sign up, and those that don't. But at least they got a chance to do a group bid, and I got to think it's got to save money.
I don't necessarily have a problem with kind of assisting a homeowners association with just information and allowing them to do their thing. I would probably want to talk more about if we were to manage it. So I think from a communication perspective, Mr. Allen?
Yeah, just the other thing to consider about this particular program, what makes this unique is that these are public dollars that are be going on to private property. And typically with those kind of projects, they would be within the county areas of responsibility, if you will, but these are typically the responsibility of the private property owners, and that's why we decided, the recommendation was to have the homeowners then coordinate directly with their contractors that they choose so that they could get out, they can get bids out and those types of things. But I think that, certainly one of the things that we could look at is the feasibility of doing a larger bid to potentially pre-qualify contractors and get a set price on that.
All right, so maybe the approach could be, we announce it, by the way, this is fantastic. Great job getting this money. It's something we talk about, trying to get money, so fantastic with that. But maybe just having a public meeting with everybody to show them what we've got, rather than going through the letters, et cetera. There's a couple of good places up there you can probably have a meeting. Present it to everybody, show them what's going on. Not only invite them, but invite contractors. So maybe when they do go out for bid, maybe they'll get like 3 bids and a guy can look at it. Maybe that's the way to do it. But again, getting a big meeting, get everybody together.
Still, it'd be up to the private homeowner to select their person they want
Right.
to do that. A lot of them will have their preference on a septic person.
And thereby you may get a guy who looks, I'm going to get all this business if I keep my price low. So when I give my bids out, I can do that. That may even
Understand
just
what
help
you're
us
saying,
without
but-
us touching it.
You're talking about a lot of members of having questions and how they handle their own particular situation.
Right. But this way you're educating the
Ms.
people in the
Starkey?
kind.
So how are they going to get their customers? I mean, is the septic company going to go door to door? Are you going to go with mailers? How are people going to learn about this? Because I could see if we gave territories, then different septic companies could go, do the marketing and sign up the people. So I see merit in all different ways, but so I'm curious how they're going to find out about this.
Yeah, so we're thinking about a communications plan, mailers to folks, an online presence for both homeowners and septic installers. We're talking to our web development team and our communications team about how to best to do that, but we do plan a robust communications strategy for these folks. And it's up to them to pick the septic installer they would like, but we also want to let the septic installers know this is happening.
So they may get a little aggressive
They
to
might
let
have
people know.
special deals for 'em.
I have a question on the septic tanks, and I've talked to a number of people about this, and I don't know how we do it or what the state rules are. But what are the requirements for people to be sure their septic tanks aren't failing?
I do not know the answer to that question, ma'am, but I can get back to your office with the answer to that. I can talk to DOH and get back
Does
to you.
anyone in your department know? Because this is my little problem. I think it's unregulated.
It's the health department that is in charge
They'll run
of
the
septic
test.
Okay,
tanks.
so you
run
can
the test.
sell your house, and it has a 30 or 40-year-old septic field that's probably not working, and we don't require at closing or a check of the closing of the septic system.
That's part of the inspection period of the house.
That the home,
Turn it privately.
so they can choose to look at it if they want?
It's part of the checklist. But that's done, and then there can be concessions on if one needs a new septic, they can negotiate it during the inspection period. That's a private matter.
But if,
I actually had one that failed and had it replaced, but
well, you
it
did,
was
because you're a
really
good
on me
citizen.
to decide, once I
Yeah.
came up with the conclusion with the plumber, that, hey, your septic tank's failing and it's not doing what it's supposed to. It actually backs up on you, so.
But if you didn't,
Yeah.
or it could it be draining stuff out that we don't want it to be draining out? Which is probably what's going on up here, that the state's willing to pay for those,
I think
right?
the issue was it just quit.
I just
If it's
I
not
just think
working
maybe
right,
the
it just fills
legislature,
up, so.
someone needs to have their eye on septic systems and the failure of them. And just so everyone remembers up here, we have yet to do one septic to sewer conversion in Pasco County.
We're close.
But we're getting some, thanks to Representative Yeager and our staff who put a grant in. Do we know about that grant yet? It's actually in this neighborhood where this park is.
We have not heard.
We're going to find out pretty soon.
We have not heard back yet officially, but I think the plan with that grant is more of a package overall thing with also with the Oh, you're talking, never mind.
talking about
You're talking
Riverside.
about the FGUA. I'm thinking of
I'm talking about
Sea Pine.
FGUA,
We
yeah.
have we have a couple of different areas that we're really working with state and federal funding for septic to sewer.
Okay, well, we'll know soon if that one is going to be successful.
All right.
Is this require a motion, or?
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Mariano?
So I'll move approval with this. What I would like to recommend we do is let's, as you set your mailers up and everything else, let's go have a public meeting, though, so we can address it, make it known to all the people, let it known to all the installers that would do this type of work, get them all in the same room together, so when they're done, they can figure out what they want to do to market themselves and decide who they want to get to. But at least
if any board members would like to see
create
the
that extra
communications
awareness
plan.
could promote good savings
Yes, sir. Sounds
without
perfect.
entangling the department. So move approval?
Second.
What we said?
Motion and second.
Motion and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Pass 5-0. Thank you, gentlemen.
Great job.
Thank you.
Yep. We have gotten to old business, believe it or not. I think, have we? So,
Is there,
not sure.
I have a question. Is there
All
any
right,
way I
yes.
could go first? Because I have an appointment at 5:20,
Oh,
a
okay.
doctor's appointment. Is that okay?
Right.
Okay.
All right.
Awesome, thank you.
At least we'll go first, and then Waitman will come in behind her.
Okay. So I attended the Pasco County Fire Rescue graduation ceremony. There was a total of 26 graduates, 23 firefighters, and 3 paramedics that were pinned. We welcomed and are proud of these men and women for their commitment to service and our community. Our next, this was really an amazing tour. We visited the Always Center along with Kathy Pearson. We visited and toured, it's located in Newport Richey. The center marks a new milestone of community health and well-being, the first prevention and recovery community care center in our region. They were extremely, we were blown away and very impressed. So any way we can support them would be awesome. So they do great work there. And then, we got to visit the animals. I'd like to thank Michael for giving me a tour of the Animal Services Shelter in Land O' Lakes, the pet services that are available, the cleanliness of the facility, all the toys. I mean, these animals are as spoiled as it gets for being in a shelter. They have like peanut butter in the conchs, and they're frozen, and they get treats all day, and I really was just impressed how great the facility was. I really wanted to take home that dog in the picture. He was super cute. And also just one last shout out to Kathy Pearson and her team. We had a family that was waiting on a disability check. Their hotel was going to expire the next day, and Kathy and her team were able to get 4 more days in a hotel to where they could get their disability check, and they weren't on the streets. And I mean, their kids were super young. So I'm very thankful and grateful for her team for that. So, and that's all for District 4.
Madam Vice Chair, you're
Oh, you're up, Seth. Sorry.
All right, all right. Then we have a picture. So, last week, Chair Oakley and Commissioner Mariano and I went to Advent Health Wesley Chapel, and they're expanding a vertical expansion on their hospital, which is pretty neat. A little bit of skyline about to happen here. So, beginning now and should be ready in late 2025, Advent Health Wesley Chapel will go from 169 beds to 193, with room for 2 more 24-bed units. In addition, they'll have a couple more operating rooms and a couple endoscopy suites, which is pretty neat. So, continuing to grow healthcare and expand services, and it's pretty exciting to see that the Advent in their forecasting of building their structures for growth and capacity to provide quality healthcare service to our citizens. So pretty neat to be at the groundbreaking and a fantastic crowd, and the board was there to cheer him on, and you know, with the view of Wiregrass and the Porters, you know, it's where it all started. So good stuff happening for Advent Health Wesley Chapel. That's all I have.
All right, I think I have some pictures. Let's see what we got here. I think we have to start with Patriot Lane, at least that's what's on my commissioner items first. If you remember, Patriot Lane in Holiday was my hoarder, who is still in jail for selling drugs. But that's what it looked like, and this is where we are today. The bank that repossessed this did not realize that they were the ones responsible for knocking that down, demoing it. They thought we were the ones, so they will be demoing it, getting a permit and demoing it soon. But I'm so happy that that neighborhood doesn't have to deal with this, but I can tell you there's one growing 2 blocks to the east that I have to keep my eye on. Commissioner Mariano, I heard you have a pretty horrific one up in your, I think it's your district too, so I just want to find a way that we can be able to deal with these a lot quicker than how we have, and maybe we need to have a little meeting with the health department, see how quickly we can bring them in, because you can imagine the rats that were running around this neighborhood, and the smell was horrendous. So next, I was on a panel for the August stimuli breakfast that was focused on Pasco County. That's me. Bill Cronin was the moderator. 7:30 in the morning, can I say, in downtown Tampa. Bill Cronin was the moderator, and next to me is, I can't remember his name now. Oh, my tag is backwards. Next to me is John Hopkins, the guy who's in charge of the hospital that will be being built in Wesley Chapel. And next to him is the new guy, John, who is in charge of the Moffett Spiros build out. So it was, I think it was almost sold out. The room was packed, and lots of good vibes for Pasco County. Next, US 19. This is that land that's right there in 19, just south of Darlington, that I have been fussing about, and I can't tell you how many calls we've been getting into our county and how many hits the county's been taking on social media for letting this grow and grow and grow and fester. But again, here's another thing. It's private property. We couldn't find the owner. The owner hasn't paid taxes on this property in 3 years. He lives in Texas. It's an LLC. He finally responded to something from the county, and boy, I'd have to have Katie to remind me, and she's gone now. He had 14 days to clean it up, or we were going to come in and do it ourselves. And I don't remember how we were getting permission to do that, but here's the thing, is that now we've done this 2 or 3 times. So I'm going to be suggesting that we just foreclose on our liens, because people can't expect the county to be the ones in charge of this. And so obviously it doesn't care about the property anyway, but code doesn't have the money anymore. Their budget's done, so it's going to have to come out of general fund or something to pay for the cleanup. But I would ask that we could just move this to foreclose on the liens. You know how that works?
I was going to suggest J.D. Murphy, Job Services. We did make contact with the owner. The owner did give us a trespass violation or trespass agreement, so code is
Okay.
going out there with our new sheriff liaison to ensure that the property stays clear of.
But who's cleaning it up?
He did say he would clean it up as well, and
Okay.
also pay the back liens. So if that gets sorted out in the next 14 to 30 days, then that may defeat the foreclosure procedure.
Okay,
But
you might want to tell them someone else has 3 years of tax deeds on this property.
We did the DOB about 7 days ago, so I think we have 7 days left on the active violation.
Okay. But it was just horrific what was going on there. I was going to talk about signs. Well, I'll bring this up here. So as we're working its way through a new sign ordinance, one of the things that we do with the Tree Mitigation Trust Fund is we have a program that helps pay for the planting of landscape in businesses. So the grant goes up, 10,000, 20, 30, 40. They put in, I think it's matching, and we have that ability to do that with landscaping. And I'd like to suggest that we come up with a way to have a grant to help some of these people who have these non-conforming signs on strip centers, or any sign, but to help them as they transition from the old signs, because those only have a certain life, and then they start falling apart. And you can see broken, abandoned ones all over the place. See if we can help them to become conforming. And, perhaps that lies in David Engel's department under economic development.
Yep.
But I just want to plant a seed that I think that's something that we should think about. I attended the Citizens Academy kickoff, big class. Yeah, if you all, Jack was there too. If you have the opportunity, make sure that's put on your calendar as an FYI, and then if you have time, you can pop in. How many sessions are they going to have this time?
There's 11.
11. It used to be 4. So it's a big commitment from these people. And we have one that's going through it for the second time. Got a lot of realtors in there. Gordy Zimmerman's wife is going through. And I thought that was pretty smart. So I've told some of my realtor friends, it would be really smart for you to go through this class. And as you're selling our county to people who move here, you can explain it better, how local government works and what we do here. Let's see, I attended the Global Competitiveness Committee, and we will be celebrating again International Business Day in February, so I'll be telling you more about that, and we'll have an event. And last year when we had that event, we auctioned off baskets, and that's where we got the money to help pay for those 2 young professionals that went to Germany. So this is something we want to promote every year and build up our international business community. Sunday night, I attended the Advent Health Ball. I didn't understand why there's a ball on the Sunday night. Started at 4:30 in the afternoon, but then when there I realized Seventh-day Adventists, Saturday's holy day for them. Yeah, so their partying is on Sunday. So it ended kind of earlier than most balls would, and started earlier. So, what else? I think that's all I have for today. Oh wait, I had a meeting with DOT, Carvala, Nick, and some others. And I just wanted to tell you just a little bit about that. We have had multiple accidents on 54. I have a constituent who's been hit twice in front of Trinity Hospital on 54. Apparently, people drive out the inn. Somehow they're mistaken. They're going wrong there. The other place, Branford, where did I say? It was Duck Slough in 54. We actually had a high schooler killed there. Yeah, a lot of accidents there. So I am glad that you and DOT are going to work to see what's going on there, and if we can make sure that that it's not continuing to be so dangerous. Thank you. That's me.
Okay. Mr. Mariano?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to start with Brantford and your team, Mike and David as well, David Allen. They did a phenomenal job with Palm Terrace. Before the storm, they took advantage of the executive order to be able to go out there and clean out. They took out hundreds of truckloads of dirt and then finished up with more to, I will say, just do a phenomenal job cleaning that whole place out. And other than just pitching the road a little bit, maybe some sod, those people are so thrilled to have, after years and years of flooding over and over again, when we couldn't help them. Now that we could help them, we did. I'm telling you, they're just thrilled. The Gray Birch Ironbark project worked out perfect too, so that whole area is really getting elevated. Mike Carbell and I talked about taking a look at our change of use applications. We got retail establishments coming to the county, especially along 19. The requirements to bring everything up to a current code is devastating. It takes a long time, may not be necessary, so Mike's going to be looking at that and possibly bringing it back to us. I know JP's working closely on a lot of different things. Boat trailers in yards in Hudson area. Give you an example. We had the storm that was coming in, and people got the boats out of their canals to put them safe on trailers. They didn't have room to go put them beside their house because the lots aren't big enough. Before we passed the ordinance about that, these homes were built, set up, so that it wasn't an issue then. From the ordinance was passed many years ago, now these people, for example, 2 days before the storm comes in, they put the boat trailer in the yard. They don't have a thing lined up to move it anywhere, and codes out there citing them. It made no sense.
Well, they give them a warning.
I'm telling you, they gave them citations. They were doing a sweep on an area because some other problems were out there. And frankly, I think every commissioner, if they want to sweep, they can have a sweep. But to go spend resources on just disrupting, you could cite so many homes in this county all over the place. Do we really want to do that? And if an area is designed for boating, I think we're looking at it, and I know Jeff is looking at it because of those reasons just stated. But Jeff, the sooner we get that, the better.
So,
Go ahead.
So I sent you a memorandum in your name. I can forward it to all commissioners, but if the board authorizes it, this is a land development code amendment. It is not in the code of ordinances. And the motion would be, I'd like to have the board direct planning and growth and economic growth, bring back a land development code amendment to allow boat trailers meeting the following conditions. And I have, based on the email that one of the constituents sent, it's lots as described on the property appraiser's property information card as SFR waterfront. Boat trailer in good working order. Trailer shall be currently registered. Grass under trailer shall be kept at the same height as the remainder of the yard. Storage of the material or items other than the boat shall be prohibited. Storage of any other materials or items other than the boat shall be prohibited. The lot is 5,000 square feet or less with side yard setbacks of 5 feet or less, making parking of a trailer impossible in the side yard.
So moved.
Well, I tell you what, I'm going to check with my boating community and see how they feel about it, because they don't, we have to see.
So this would just be to have staff bring something forward to you that had those conditions, if that's what the board wants to do. We can't amend the land development code by motion, so.
And I think Commissioner Starkey,
These
I
are
think
ones on the water?
on the water, 5-foot setbacks. I don't think Gulf Harbors has any
If they're on
5-foot
the water, they're
setbacks.
not keeping their boat in the back?
They do, but sometimes you're going to work on it, sometimes you'll have it.
So, okay, I am a little confused, and I'd like to ask Code here. Is that JP? Okay. I'm pretty sure, because this happens to us in Gulf Harbors where, not very often, but sometimes people have their boats in the front, and they're working on them or whatever. And it's my understanding, they get a warning first, and it's 7 days that, hey, your boat's in the front yard, you got 7 days, but they don't cite them, they get a warning.
But if they have gotten a warning and they went back, they would then get a citation.
Yeah, but it's not immediately, you have 7
No.
days.
But if it's a previous violator, I think the codes can, if has been a warning at that property for that violation, the second time around, they don't have to give them another warning.
So we have short-term rentals in our neighborhood, and sometimes people bring their boats. And there's a house across the street from me where they'll come they bring their boat and they leave it in the front yard for the week. Someone comes by, gives them a notice. Let's just say this is hypothetical. Code comes by, that renter is gone, but the next guy's there and it's a different boat. What happens? Okay. Because I know my community doesn't like people coming and bringing their boats and keep them in the front.
That it? Well, this was, Commissioner Mariano made a motion. There hasn't been a second. They got
Commissioner
into.
Waitman's got his hand up.
They got discussion.
Commissioner Waitman's got his hand up, though.
Well, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. This is another rule that code enforcement's going to have to police. What's the point of passing it if we're not going to be able to police it? We can't afford to police, we're not policing what's on the books now, so we keep adding, I know this is a different point, but we add more and more for code to do, and we have these rules, but we don't police them. What's the point in creating another rule?
This is an exemption to a rule that's already in place.
We already have that rule.
So we're going to go away
Make it harder,
from.
because they're going to have to go measure the lot.
So it's going to be, go ahead, Commissioner
I
Mariano,
was
I'm trying to
gonna say, keep in mind,
understand.
he said 5-foot setback, and I think lots were 5,000 square feet, 1/10 of an acre. So I don't think there's any Gulf Harbors neighbors you got to worry about. So this is something for Hudson, that they have smaller lots there, smaller canals up there, and then a tougher situation up there. They want to see where they can actually do what they used to do when properties were developed years ago. This will just let them do what they used to do. If
I may. So Commissioner Waitman, the general rule in the Land Development Code is you can't store things in the front yard of your house, except if you're parking in the driveway. And so some of Commissioner Mariano's constituents have boats on trailers, but because their side yards are so small, they can't, and the rule is you can put them in the side yard if it's below the front of the house, behind the front of the house. And this is, most jurisdictions have the same rule. So the commissioner asked me, well, and there has been some email traffic, whether there was a way to carve out these smaller lots that are in waterfront communities. That's what this was about. I'm not weighing into the policy, I'm just presenting it.
Well, I'm more for I cans than I can't, so take a look at it.
That's all I want to do, let's take a look at it.
Take a look at it. Well, I guess I second it. Is that the
That would be a second.
formal language? I'll second to take a look at it. Take a second to look at it.
It is a motion to look at it.
Yeah, to bring it back.
Have planning bring it back.
All right, got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Nay. I don't like ugly. I'm sorry, I
Passes
just don't like
3-1.
ugly.
Okay.
I just can't vote for ugly.
Are y'all done?
No, I got a few more
Oh, you're
things.
done.
Yeah,
Oh,
I got a few
you're
more
done.
things. I do want to say, I've heard a few different comments about the fire stations we built. The one at Hedson looks great, it's going to be coming in, Seven Springs as well. Comments I've got is to look at if we can find ways to cut expenses on them. We think some of the architecture that may have been required is costing extra cost to us that may not give us any better of an end product, but some fancier. So I've asked staff to go look at it. I think it's just something we should be aware of and something to take a look at.
Well, just a little bit about that in fire stations. I think the new chief Perez was talking about the fact of, instead of looking at building one fire station at a certain time, we would bring forward maybe 2 or 3 fire stations and have them bid at the same time so that we can not continually go up on each price of each fire station by bidding them separately, but do it kind of together. Is that kind of what you heard, Mr. Cavallo?
Yeah, I mean, there's a number of things. But I'll let Mr. Murphy kind of talk about some of the things that we've already done, and then obviously procurement's another issue that the facilities team looks at.
But I think that's a good way to look at things. I mean, they brought back a community fire station, you know, that did not have regular firemen in, and put it in service. And gosh, I think last year it did 900 calls or something, so,
Phenomenal.
to relieve the other fire stations.
So Commissioner, thanks for bringing that up. We have taken a comprehensive approach to this. We've cut, I think, $1 million out of the station design. Most of our stations are now going to go from 4 bays to 3 bays. Keep the 90 feet, but not every station needs 4 bays. To the chair's point, we're looking at areas that had 2 stations planned, and instead of building 2, we may build like kind of a super station in between the 2.
Right.
As they're looking at response times and road access. So we're looking at all those things, and as I said, I think the price we got from facilities of our carve-outs of the future stations is over $1 million per station moving forward in savings that we're kind of value engineering what was previously on Station 17 and Hudson, and kind of going back to what we really need.
Yeah, and you
What happened, this brings us up, but what happened to the station that the contractor
Seven
went
Springs.
away? Where is that station?
It's
That's
moving
Station
on.
17, and that should be complete by December, I believe.
And I think the commissioner's point is also looking at how we design the form of the station, and certain architectural treatments
Right.
may provide savings in other ways. And so I think this value engineering stuff that JJ is talking about and working with the facilities team, we hear what you're saying and understand.
And again, I want to just have the conversation. I knew the chief and JJ were working to save millions
I
as
know
well,
the
but I just
same
want to
thing.
throw those things out there too, so.
Yeah.
So I'm very pleased the way, JJ, you're working, the chief's working, so, and with Eric as well, so I just want to let you know the conversation I had, so,
Yeah.
good. I was with a constituent yesterday, and we talked about the PACE program, and how property tax collector Fasano just cut him off. Think it's a good move.
Oh, yeah.
And so
There were some real issues there.
Sure, and the lady had a very good point that I just wondered, I want to bring it to you and with everybody. Is there a way that we can look at all these complaints where people lost houses and get buried, that we can look at, see if they've violated, I don't know what exactly how to say it, but predatory lending practices, and go take a look into that to see if there were any violations or anything we can help the people with?
I'm not sure that would be in the board's realm, really. I mean, if it's a crime, if it's predatory lending and it's a crime, then that would be within the state attorney's. We could certainly research is there some sort of a cause of action there? And could we refer it to somebody? But I don't know that it's something that my office would be counseled representing.
You're talking about
Well, and again,
501c3?
just
Yeah.
because we set the program up, it's now been canceled, I think if we can find a way to coach people to what they could do, then we should take a look at that. So with your expertise, if you can guide us a little bit, maybe next meeting,
We
to
can
think
take-
about
we
it.
can- We can take a look at that and bring it back on the September 3rd meeting.
Okay. One more thing, a couple more things, campaign signs. I'm glad we had a change in leadership with the code. I had signs, I put myself up within the telephone poles, and they started using map pages and started taking them out. Hours and
Started
hours of
what?
time to go, with my signs, I put them in place, myself. And I put them inside to make sure they're inside the utility poles so no one else would make a mistake, line them up myself, and I had like 11 of them total pilled out. Once one set, I want to say Mike and JP were great fixing it. It went on. I just want to make sure we don't get in the situation again.
Are you
to go
saying,
take a look at
I didn't understand, are you saying our staff
our
took them
staff.
out?
Yes.
I heard this from different people. There was some on our property at Rangeland and Starkey, and someone took them out.
Yeah.
Could have been code.
I have one for
we've
Lisa.
got to really control what they're doing. It's
The new sign ordinance, so you know, the
Yeah, yeah.
new
They took
sign
our sales
ordinance
sign.
will only allow you to put one sign on any one piece
Yeah,
of property.
we only had one.
And but you've got properties like over in Dade City, take Clinton Avenue and 301. There's property there that there'd be 5 or 6 signs on that. That's all the same property. And they didn't, code didn't go take them out, but that's more than one sign what our sign ordinance calls for.
Is it one sign per person?
No, one sign per
total?
property.
I didn't know that.
So-
went to political
That's a rule. I
signs.
mean, it's in the ordinance, so.
All right, so we
I
need
think
to,
it's a
I think we
law.
should bring that back then.
So, okay, so we adjusted the sign ordinance to comply with the Supreme Court case of Reed, if you recall, which said we couldn't distinguish between political signs because it was speech and commercial signs. I think it's a dumb ruling. But that's what the U.S. Supreme Court said, and so when we brought that last amendment back to you, temporary sign, you were given the ability to have a temporary sign on, one temporary sign on one piece of property, because you didn't want banner signs all over the place. So that caught political signs in that saying it's all a temporary sign. We can look at adjusting that, but you're gonna have to adjust it for other kinds of signs too.
Can I suggest something? I'd like to test the waters in the courts on that. I say, we go ahead and do the political signs, and if someone wants to sue us, we take it on, because that's crazy, you know?
Well, they've been doing it, so I mean,
Yeah, it's everywhere.
everybody's doing it.
And
Wow.
we're going to be having situations, we're going to be putting signs out in the same place too, that,
Can you imagine a code enforcement person taking your sign, my sign, and Starkey's sign down?
Yeah.
I can't imagine that.
oh, did it?
I mean,
Did
because.
I get pictures of
Not
JP.
because they're not doing right, like our ordinance says, but the fact that we're over them, so in a sense, it really puts us at odds, which it really shouldn't.
11?
And I don't think it has,
Oh.
because I don't think code's actually been out there doing that.
Oh, they have. They changed using from telephone poles for utilities to using map pages where they look at it, which is not even accurate. They could be 5 feet off doing it. Literally, I put them out, Commissioner Oakley, myself, with I know they were good. And JP even knows, one of them that was down the street, that he knew was good, and they yanked it. So.
Do they
believe
tell
me.
you? Do they tell you?
No, well, they didn't tell me. I had to go find out.
Where
Because
do
I
they
knew they
take
were
it?
good.
We've
so where'd they
given
go?
code some pretty good written guidance on how to apply the rules, so
Let's test that. Let's test it out, that's general.
It probably will with you and I, probably.
So, and as you know, when you're actively campaigning at other things too, so I will tell you the landscaping ordinance, talking to people, with the way we have it set up with all these trees that are right now in place, that are hitting the power lines, have to be trimmed, and trimmed. We really need to go look at this ordinance again, because I've got people that will not, and you go up and down 19, talk to Rich Jenkins, he went through it. They will not put the stuff back in, they don't want to, because they're gonna block their view of seeing the businesses, and they're worried about it. And if you need to, I can get a few people to come in there and tell you what they're going through, what they're feeling. But literally, the way we have it, I want to make the place look good, but the way it's set up right now, if you block the view of a business, you take away the value of that property. One person was telling me, we don't have many jobs here because people aren't doing as much business there as they would, because you can't see what's in there.
I'm going to disagree with you. We're not doing much work there because it's ugly. And who wants to drive on that road and spend any money? Now, I just got compliments last night from a couple of business people that were at the watch party that they hadn't driven 19 in a long time, and they were somewhere in Newport Richey for some event, and they said, hey, we haven't been on 19, let's drive south. And they were really surprised at how much better it's looking. I have 4 new businesses moving in. I have a hospital, I have some coffee drive-throughs. I have people spending money in the holiday area and revitalizing it. So I think when something's run down, decrepit looking and ugly, people aren't going to want to put a business there. So
Well-
I disagree with you.
Well, but
I've
I'll
talked to
say
real
this.
estate agents with-
In the center medians, I'll tell you, I got so many compliments with all the trees, the palm trees and everything else going there. That made the whole place look great, going up and down. But I'm just telling you, people that buying a piece of property, they can't be seen with their business, they
Well,
don't know what it is.
Who would plant trees that you can't see at our property? There's a whole list of trees that you can plant, like palm trees and things that you can see the property just fine. So that's someone planting the wrong
All right,
tree.
so go back to your ordinance that we put in place, right? We put it in place, we say you've got to maintain what you permitted. If you change it, you got to go redo it, reapply. If you want to change it and make it better, make the things up.
We actually have a landscaping fund, I think, that helps some businesses redo some of their landscaping.
I'll show you pictures of some of the grants that have come in Holiday and what they've done to improve the area. And we're getting thanks for caring.
Let me throw this idea out. So right now, if you change it, and this one business would have to spend 90 grand to redo all their trees, some of them in the backyard, right? Nobody's going to see it from the street. It's in the back of the building that's next to another building, that's next to a pond, and we're making them redo that too. It's like just a little bit too extreme, but maybe if we're going to do this, instead of being an 80%, maybe just make it 100% if it's along the arterials in the business. I got one last thing. Hudson Beach, you heard the gentleman talk about the swing that broke.
Right.
To replace it, and there's like, if we replace 2 of them, because the other one's on schedule, it would cost just over $1,400, and they could put 2 brand-new ones out there. And if Hudson comes with the new improvements coming up as projected, they can actually take the swing out, pull it away, and put it back later, so you don't waste the money either.
Yeah.
So I make a motion, we spend up to $1,500 to replace those swings.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What a great amenity for the
I
community.
got a motion and a second?
Yeah.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye. What about
That's all.
the picnic
Majority.
tables?
I'm working on those, I'll find out.
I was gonna bring that up.
3-0, thank you. That's all I have.
That's it?
Well, I have a question on that Hudson. Is there a plan to spruce that up and make it nicer looking?
At the Redirect Committee meeting Thursday, tomorrow we'll be bringing it out. There's really cool pictures, but if you see it in the big screen, it's even better.
Mr. Kabala.
I'll save the accolades for next meeting, but I just wanted to let you know I did just extend the local state of emergency for Hurricane Debbie to August 29th. We still have some latent flooding issues out east and up in Hudson that we're still addressing, and want to make sure we capture that. That's all.
You know, and I'm going to add to that before I go to Jeff, but the fact of it is Debbie's still affecting some of East Pasco County.
Really?
Yeah, around Zephyr Hills and all. I mean, we got issues with flooding and people have either blocked ditches or places that we could move water to. I mean, they've changed. I mean, they come in, so I'm not getting water on me anymore, so they'll build something to fill up the ditch that used to bring the water on through, and now it's not allowed to come through, so it's backing up on people, you know, on the west side of it, so. But there's still issues with Debbie, and people talk like, well, Debbie was nothing, but there's flood issues still happening around East Pasco County, so.
How many houses in Hudson got water in the house? I never heard a number.
I'd have to talk with emergency management. I don't have the exact stats and figures in front of me here, but we'll get you a report.
Yeah.
What was it?
Also a lot of people don't realize, Jack and I know, but we were sitting with about 2.1 billion gallons in the reservoir, and because of Debbie, we have built that back up. I think it's 8.7 billion with putting in it 200 million gallons a day pumped into the reservoir, which that's mind-boggling when you think about 200 million going in. Every 5 days we put 1 billion gallons in that reservoir.
Yeah.
So it's pretty amazing. And we still have some showers around lately, so that water's still coming. So, but Jeff, you have something?
I took enough time of your time this morning. I'll pass.
All right.
No, sir, thank you.
Okay. You got some pictures over there for me? I went and spoke at the graduation for the firefighters, and I gave them a story, and I know the two of you know a lot of people. That story was the fact that we had an emergency with a guy that was out mowing his yard, and he had a heart attack. So our fire team went out, and EMS went out and took care of him, got him stable, and then moved him on the hospital. But after they got all that settled, those firefighters came back. I mean, that was a great story back when it happened. It must, I think it was somewhere 3 to 5 years ago, yes, 3 or 4 years ago. But that was a great story, and I told that new graduating class that they were fixing to enter an elite group of people that are the best of the best, and they should be very proud of graduating and being a part of that group. So, and we keep adding. We don't have any more classes graduating right now, but the start of the new year we'll have classes started back to keep we've added, I think 51 new positions we've added in with the last two classes. So very, very good that we've added those. And then, oh yeah, Advent Health, they were adding to the north wing, they were adding 3 more stories. And the south wing, they're adding 2 more stories of building, which they were prepared when they originally built the building, they could add these different stories on top of it.
Yep.
They're gaining, I think, 72 new beds. And here's what's amazing. I mean, there's a real need out there because they had 18 people in the emergency area waiting on rooms.
Wow, and just think of all the hospitals we
Yeah.
put in.
And I mean, what's really amazing, and in saying that, and I've always sent this, every time it seems like I talk at Advent Health, I'm telling them that all these other hospitals coming in, it makes them and pushes them with the fact that they're working to be the very best. Every hospital that comes in wants to be the very best. Well, the fact of it is, for the citizens of Pasco County, that's great for us because that gives us the ability to have the very best care here in Pasco County because all of the different hospitals are striving to be the very best. And I'll say this several times, but Eric was part of he was the MC that started all this with this program. He had to come back up and say, oh, Commissioner, you made me say this, but we have 3 hospitals that are 3-star, and I think one's a 4-star, but they're leading in their fields. So it's a good thing all these different units have come in and different groups. I mean, Friday we get some more, a new dentist office coming over here and a health department clinic. So coming to, I believe it's around Hudson area, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
But I'm supposed to be there to speak on Friday, so. But those are all real good things. Oh, and then we met, when we were at Advent, we met the Wilbur, the chief barking officer they have there. So it's pretty neat. What was it? I thought I had something else. Okay, oh. Yep, I talked about Debbie, issues we had with Debbie, so. And I continue picking on Bramford because he wants to do, his first road of the new year, I think he wants to do in Starkey's area instead of mine. I don't know why that is, why he's picking on me. So, but I let him know that I'm noticing these kind of things, so. Next thing I know, he'll be building roads over here in Jack's district, so. But the fact of it is, it's a great program.
What are you doing? Remind us?
The new paving, you're doing some,
Okay.
oh, yeah.
Boy, I drove on
She
Orchid
didn't even know
Lake.
what she's getting over there. Don't tell her, Bradford. Maybe I can go ahead and sneak it back over my way.
At lunchtime, I went to Pepin,
Yeah.
and Orchid Lake is just falling apart. I don't think you've been in there. Road's
But-
bad.
But I can't say enough about all our staff, no matter what department it is. There's a lot of positive things happening in this county. And, I mean, it's taken, I've been here, I'm in my 8th year, and it's taken till about now to, a lot of these issues are being addressed that I started working on back when I first started. I'm slow, I guess, so.
Took me 12 years to get a bathroom at Suncoast and.
It took me 5 years, it took me 5 years to get Wire Road paved.
Toilet.
Took 5 years to get Wire Road paved. Now they tell me they're gonna get me some other roads pretty soon, so.
Sounds like Mike's getting a lot done.
Oh, and what is real positive is the fact that, and thank you FDOT, putting a light at Wire Road for me. And they told me it was in engineering and the light was coming within about 2 hours of me asking for it. That's
Commissioner
pretty
Oakley.
good.
So,
But it's all about safety.
Yeah.
The fact of it is, this particular intersection on the east side at Wire Road and 301, this year, there's been 4 deaths there. So that's not gonna stop. We have older residents that live there and come out on that road, and it's just a dangerous intersection.
Yeah.
So,
But talking about
it's
time to
not a
get,
cross-section, it's just one road coming out to that, so.
yeah. We're talking about time to get things fixed. I mean, all the stormwater projects taking years and years, and I tell you, we've done such a great job
Oh,
on
yeah.
so many of them.
Yeah.
And only because we took over the FGA plant at Palm Terrace, it took us a total of 9 days of work to fix the whole thing. Actual work, get the government out of the way, call the emergency order, and Branford and the team,
Some of the
David,
areas we used to.
9 days.
To wade in,
by and look at it.
some areas we used to
It's amazing.
wade in the water, and I came over and waded with
Oh,
when I
yeah.
first got elected. Oh, it's pretty amazing.
It's
We don't
incredible.
necessarily hear those issues like we used to,
Yeah,
because we were all working together on it.
yeah.
so.
I have a question for Branford. So you've decided on a roundabout for Decubulus and Starkey?
Yes, that's what we are.
So the light that's there, I know there's a shortage, do you take the street light out and put it to use somewhere else?
Usually, if you do that something like that.
Well, yeah, it takes a long time to get a street light,
It actually takes a long time to get mast arms, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
but
what
you'll be
takes a year to build
repurposing
them.
those lights?
Yes, we do somewhere in the movie.
Did you take a look at Starkey Boulevard's, what I asked you to look at when you're driving home?
Yeah, I did. We can talk about it.
Odd.
It is.
I feel we're gonna have racing going on again in another place, which is already happening at the merge, in front of the market.
Only if there's a slow driver ahead of you.
I had a motorcycle pass me on the dotted yellow line flying where he shouldn't have been passing, so it's happening out there.
I didn't know that.
We're done, right?
No, not yet, but now we are.